Mnasema national government wanatuzuia, wako na pesa nini. Mimi niliahidi ya kwamba we support devolution because we know what devolution can do. So leo mimi natoa bilioni 32 kwa county governments ya Republic of Kenya ya mwezi huu, sio ya mwezi ingine. Ile ya mwezi uliopita nilimalizana last month. Ya mwezi huu leo tena we are releasing 2.3 billion for this month for all our cash transfer beneficiaries. Wale wazee, wakongwe, wale watu wenye wanaishi na ulemavu, watoto wetu ambao ni mayatima.
Ruto further urged opposition leader Raila Odinga to stop tarnishing the country's name and destroying international relations through anti-government protests.
Wiki iliyopita alinitumania kukakuja special envoy kutoka China. Akuja akanieleza, sasa ulikuwa umetumana. Waziri alikuja, tukakubaliana tutasaidiana katika zile barabara ambazo tunataka kufanya upgrading, kama hii ya kutoka hapa kwenda Garissa tuweke lami na zile zingine. Lakini nimeona majuzi zile tulijenga mbeleni mnazibomoa, zingine mnachoma. Sasa akanitumania kuniuliza, wale niliwatuma walimwambia vizuri ni kujenga tunataka kujenga ama ni kubomoa tunataka kubomoa.
And the section of Kenya Council leaders now say that dialogue between President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga is the only way the increasing political temperatures in the country will go down. Led by UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala, the leaders have claimed that the country's well-being is at risk due to the demonstrations that continue to interfere with the economy. According to Malala, President Ruto is ready to negotiate with anyone for the benefit of Kenyans.
Our president is ready to engage with any Kenyan. Hata Raila Odinga, ukitaka rais, wewe uko na simu ya rais, piga simu State House, rais wetu wako tayari kuongea na wewe. For as long as tusiharibu Kenya, tusichome mali ya watu, watoto wetu wasikufe.
These are the Azimio leaders led by ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna dismissed claims that Azimio wants a handshake. Speaking during the vigil of people that were killed allegedly by police during Maandamano in Jericho, Nairobi, Sifuna insisted that what they want is to see the government address issues affecting Kenyans and not through negotiations. According to Sifuna, President Ruto should listen to the cry of Kenyans and address the cost of living.
You don't need to call Raila. You don't need to talk to him. About what? The problem right now is not about who's not talking to who, but who's not listening to who. That is the problem in this country. And we are saying for us, you don't have to talk to us. You don't have to talk to Raila. Just listen to the people. Just reduce the price of unga like the people are telling you. Repeal the Finance Act.
At the same time, the minority leader in the Nairobi County Assembly, Anthony Karanja, has criticized Azimio's protests, saying that apart from causing damage to property, it has undermined the growth of the nation's economy as a whole.
Hii maandamano ambayo inapangwa na hao watu wa opposition sio ya kweli. Ni vizuri pia kusema ya kwamba wanatumia silaha vile ulisikia polisi wakisema, na tumeona si siri, hata nyinyi wanahabari mlikava kijana mmoja hapa Karen ambaye ni wa former president ako na zaidi ya bunduki 100 kwa nyumba. Akiulizwa ni za nini, anasema ni za kwenda kupiga ndege hapa Mwea. It is not acceptable and we cannot continue like that.
And NAT Secretary General Colin Soyu has called on the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to heed to President William Ruto's request that will see civil servants' salaries increased. Speaking in Kakamega, OU criticized the commission for shelving the plans despite the president issuing the order publicly. His plea comes despite the commission saying that the president's remarks were considered as an opinion like that of any other Kenyan.
Ile nyongeza ambayo ilitangazwa waziwazi na Rais Daktari William Samoei Ruto, tunaambiwa kwamba mwisho wa mwezi huu wa Julai, kama ambavyo ilikuwa inatarajiwa, sivyo. Hatuna utulivu, tutazidi kuuliza kwa mapana kwamba alilotangaza rais lazima liwe jinsi ambavyo alitangaza. Mtu asizungumze juu ya SRC kwamba hawajakuwa tayari, kwani hawakujua kwamba mwisho wa mwezi itafika.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyang.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes?
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Or should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the Situation Room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. People hiding here and there, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you were showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment.
The Situation.
At the end of the week, and we're not seeing much in terms of traffic, at least not for now. Looks like Friday's gotten off to a slow start, but it's gotten off to a start anyway. A little bit of traffic building up on Jogo Road. We'll see that movement getting out towards Landis and then through into the CBD. Nothing much coming off of Thika Superhighway. That's likely to build up later. And as well as the Northern Bypass, a little bit of traffic here and there. So it's a little bit of through Friday. What's happening where you are today? As we're getting into it, let's know. We'll see some outbound traffic, that's for sure, getting into the weekend. But let's keep an eye on all of this and talk to us in the meantime on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only
How
way to
you
start your day.
doing? Habari ya masiku mengi sana tangu juzi.
Tangu jana.
Juzi.
Okay, sawa.
Jana ilikuja ikaenda, mimi sikumbuki.
Lakini unakumbuka juzi?
Nakumbuka juzi. I'm sure of juzi. Jana. It's a blur.
Not so much.
How are you?
Me? Oh, I'm fine. Yeah. Okay, you want more? I am fine, thank you.
That's better. That's good. Me too.
You're fine too?
I'm fine, thank you too.
Fantastic. Lala vizuri.
Ni lala poa. Why are nights never long enough?
It depends on the time of the year. You'll find that the days are longer depending on where the moon is.
Really?
Call me astrologer.
Nah. Night is when you fall asleep.
Oh, stop it. No.
The rest of the time, if you're awake,
it's day.
It's day.
Okay. How about a day in Eric's world?
The rest of it is day.
Okay.
When you say the night was long or the night was short, what do you mean?
You didn't get enough sleep. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about sleep.
Okay.
So when I say that it was a short
So
night.
this is essentially what you're saying, that you didn't get enough sleep last night.
Yeah, I don't
Hey,
think so.
No.
I don't think so.
Don't worry. Maybe today is Friday.
Today's Friday, eh?
Do like that.
Haya. Karibuni sana kila mtu kwenye mpango wa leo. Bwana CT Muga hayuko na sisi kwa leo. Yeye amesema wacha yeye napumzika.
Under the weather, yeah.
He's under the weather kidogo like that. So he said, "Okay, guys, let me listen to this weather. Let me observe the weather.
And then try and get on top of it.
Let's see if it will pass." And then move from above me. So, but then let me tell you what we'll be discussing. Hey, yesterday.
Where? Karibu.
Yeah? Yeah? On the other hand, people didn't spend money yesterday.
This was a
You
good
couldn't
thing.
pay.
So you could actually find that some of the things you spend money on, you don't actually need to. Abi? Lesson in frugility.
Where? Hiya. So, all those services. Kenya Railway says we're having a problem. So, really, people who are trying to pay for services, rail can't. Trying to book a TSGR can't. Kenya Power, you're trying to buy tokens. Cannot. Who else? Banks, you're trying to do bank to M-Pesa transactions.
All banks trying to do bank to M-Pesa.
You cannot.
Everybody was sending us the message, our what is down, we cannot do whatever. Anything that hinged on the mobile transfer to Safaricom.
What? Chini.
Down.
E-Citizen itself.
Inje.
That one has been down since Monday. Where, my friends? Big one. And then there's this whole thing of anonymous Sudan thing, and you don't know who they are.
Are they in Kenya? Are they Kenyans?
Are they actually the genuine hackers, or are they just riding on some? I don't know. Anyway, we'll be having a conversation about the growing threat of cybersecurity, privacy, and data protection in the country. We'll be joined by an expert on cybersecurity. Kennedy Wangare is a data scientist at UNEP. He's a senior data scientist at UNEP. Kennedy will be joining us at 7 a.m. for this conversation. Let's break it down, okay? So what exactly is going on, and how do we insulate ourselves from this kind of attacks? That's at 7. At 8 a.m., the people of Kileleshwa, that neighborhood of Kileleshwa, Kileleshwa Ward, do you know where it begins and where it ends? It is humongous.
Yeah, it is.
At some point, it touches Wayakiwe into Uhuru Highway, into St. Mary's, the boundary there, and then it comes all the way into Kileleshwa, into bit of Riverside,
touching on Chiromo,
goes all the way. So basically, between James Gishuru Road and Oloitoktok Road, that is Kileleshwa Ward. Yep. Go, kwanda. Panda nayo mpaka ufike huko juu karibu. Yeah. So the people of Kileleshwa Ward are organizing themselves, and they're saying, all right, so we need to actually have a vibrant neighborhood community, and we also need to use this vibrant neighborhood community to advance our own services. So we make sure that we get the services that we deserve from our government, from the various departments. If it's about this thing of mushrooming tall apartments, we get to see, are they actually following the right procedure and the right laws have been followed. And Wairo Kinyori Gugu is the secretary of the Kileleshwa Ward Neighborhood Association. It's called Kiwana. She will be here. They are organizing something they're calling Kile Fest, where basically they're bringing together the people of Kileleshwa for introduction for all, and then with that they move forward. So she'll come and tell us about Kile Fest, and they'll tell us about organizing urban neighborhoods.
Okay.
You know, rural neighborhoods is easy to mobilize.
Yeah, because people are out.
You know each other, your family.
Interact all the time.
Urban neighborhoods.
Huh? Your next door neighbor. What is his name?
Do you know?
Yeah,
I know my next door neighbor.
But I'm generous.
But that's
because it's your Eric.
That's all I know.
That's his name, perhaps. Bless you.
Sansana. That's all I know. So, Wairo will be here at 8 for that. And then at 9 is Health Friday Conversation, Effective Therapy, Approaches to Articulation and Phonological Disorders. What are those?
What?
Phonological disorders.
Something to do with speech, Abby?
Phonetics.
Yes. Pronunciation, speech, all those things.
Articulation and phonological disorders. So there are therapies that actually can be done. So one of the therapists is Wamboi Mbogwa. She's a speech therapist. She joins us at 9 a.m. for that Health Friday conversation. Are you ready for Friday? If you are, then let's get straight into it. Are you online? We are live streaming. Do like that. We shall do like that. After Ndu does
like that.
Bas.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
London Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's sugar and spice. Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who we are.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been in? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to Spice FM 94.4.
I want you on my team.
So does everybody else.
Conditions in Nairobi at 13, highs of 20 and lows of 12. We'll see lows of 13 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru at 15. And it's cloudy at 14 in Nyeri, highs of 19 and highs of 23 in a partly cloudy Eldoret at 14. It's 22 and cloudy in Mombasa. It'll go to highs of 28 and we'll see highs of 28 as well in a cloudy Malindi at 25. It's 20 and cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 28 and 27 will be the high in a cloudy Kakamega at 17. Kampala is mostly clear at 18, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 29 in a partly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 23. It's 11 degrees and partly cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and highs of 30 in a mostly cloudy Lagos at 26. Kinshasa is cloudy at 23, highs of 32 and lows of 22 today. We'll see highs of 30 Friday afternoon in Beijing. It's mostly cloudy at 27, and at 18, Paris is cloudy, going to highs of 28. We'll see highs of 22 in a cloudy London at 18, and Thursday night in New York is hot. Highs of 35 and lows of 24.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right. It's already 20 past 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Only. We're not doing too badly. These are people who understand things this morning. Mwangi says, hello, Princess Ndu. Well, good morning, Mwangi. He says, Duta. No. Let's not do that.
That's a good one.
Well, let's skip over that and go to the most important thing that he said thereafter. The Super Falcons did us proud last night and they drove the Australians into the ground with a 3-2 victory. It was fantastic to watch.
Women's World Cup.
That's right.
Super Falcons are the
Flying
Super
high.
Eagles.
They're the Super Falcons.
Okay.
They did
what?
They beat Australia 3-2. Beautiful goals. Beautiful execution. Of
Still in group stages.
Yes.
So are they topping the group now?
Yes, they are.
Ish, like that.
I'm telling you, it's not small. They're playing better than the Eagles. Don't say I said it. James Mwagi says, good morning. Another day to sit back and enjoy God's good work. Indeed, enjoy the weekend. Deep State says specifically, Sasa Ednah. Thank you very much. This is a reminder. Usizime stima hapo YouTube. Tuko macho. Ednah.
Don't say we didn't warn you.
All right. Stern says, good morning to CT. Yes, CT was awake very early this morning, but he's a bit under the weather, so he will not be with us today. So we'll see what proverb Eric is going to give us today, and CT will make up for it. Anyway, ask Ednah, ni nini huyo hua inalia kama ringtone ya text message every time? I've been wanting to ask. Yo. It's a tweet. Like the birds are greeting you.
Yeah, we'll change it to an X soon.
Good morning, says Jerry Mamba. Tuned in from Narrow Moro. Hey, Charles, Timothy, Ndu and Latiff, have a nice show. Thank you very much. Good morning, friends. Garissa is tuned in. Let's all pray for our country. May our blessed nation know peace. Indeed. Agnes Akinyi says, good morning, guys. Happy to be here. Wishing everyone a productive day. To you too, sister. Kivon Nyayo says, good morning, lady and gentlemen, watching from this hot city called Doha. Joe Munga is tuned in from Bonnie Lake, Washington. Hi, everybody. Been listening to a song, Then Christ Came Changing Everything by Phil Wickham. Then wow, Spice FM came, spicing everything. Whoa. Zeke says, good morning to the hottest spices in town. Tuko Chondra hapa ATL Atlanta. Joe Mungaya amefika hapa kwa kuchoka na letters to editor Daily Nation. Okay. James Mukabana says, Jumbo, I thought the cyber attack will affect today's show because it's a crucial one for many Kenyans. No, we're here. Habari Spice Crew watching live from Las Vegas. Parliament, Kenya, has become a joke. Okay, Deep State, what is it? Okay.
Has become.
Has become.
Okay.
Desmond says, good morning. How is everybody? Edward Ngonze says, good morning, tuned in from the UK. Carol Nyabura says, good morning. Now, Penda Sana, Santi Sana, thank you for joining us this morning. Edward is asking, can I give CT's proverb now that he's not here? Good morning, as enormous, always tune in. Thank you very much. Good morning, Karibu Sana, the 2000. What is your real name? I'm very curious. I want to know what your real name is. See, do us a solid and tell us your name.
Why are you assuming the 2000 isn't his real name?
I don't. I'm assuming it's not.
Why?
Just because. Jacinta Mbilo says, good morning. Good morning. Always nice waking up to listen to you. Ndu looking nice like always. Asante. Eric, high five.
Chokoa.
Ndio. City yako. City
yako chini ya weather.
Yeah. Guten Morgen from Ukunda. Getting you clearly from H-Town. H-Town ni wapi sasa? Homa Bay, Hola. Where is H-Town?
Yeah.
Black Diamond tuned in from Mudhiga, lakini baridi. Yes, it's nice, isn't it? Hiram, Andrew, Emmanuel, everybody. The 2000 said his name is Joe.
Joe.
Yes, he has told us his name is Joe. Hi, Joe.
Right. Like we should believe it, huh?
Thank you. I believe it.
It's a random Joe.
Yeah, just your run-of-the-mill Joe.
Okay. Everybody, karibuni sana. So this week's proverbs are from the country of Lesotho.
Really?
It's written Lesotho, but they pronounce it as Lesotho. I don't know why. Something interesting about this country. It's a monarchy. They have a king. And they also have a prime minister. I'll be telling you more about the prime minister and if they have a parliament. But it's a landlocked country. It's completely surrounded by South Africa.
You're really not all right.
This country is the highest country. Right. The proverb. Cows lick each other because they know each other.
So, wait.
Yes, it's the proverb. Cows lick each other because they know each other.
So cows greeting, or rather show of affection, is licking each other, and they wouldn't lick a cow. You never lick a cow you don't know. Abi? Okay. So if you see cows licking each other, it's because they know each other.
Yes.
See,
Cows don't lick strangers.
Got it. Thank you. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes?
Okay.
It's the proverb. It's the proverb. Right. Okay.
Okay.
The headlines.
The headlines today. Under attack, Kenya fights cyber hackers. That's on the front page of the Standard. Critical financial, banking and telecommunications infrastructure hit by hackers, raising fears on the safety of electronic information. Yesterday, the government assured of normalcy, but Kenyans are asking hard questions, and we'll look at those questions in a minute. Ruto-Raila teams line up agenda for impending talks. So will the talks happen or will they not? That is still, we're waiting to see, but we'll hear. A taxi driver speaks on the day he carried Sharon's killers. The case of the state against former governor of Migori County, Okoh Obado, is still on. Kenya's look into Budapest next month. The World Athletic Championships are coming up and the marathon team is shining. Yes, I am married to an American, according to the woman in the Nyachai case. That is still up, and folks are waiting to see what is going to happen. On the front page of The Nation, let's look up here when we talk about the coup that occurred in Niger 2 days ago. World leaders condemn power grab by Nigerian military. Not Nigerian, Nigerian. How I Stopped Killer Lioness. Masai elder narrates his encounter with a deadly predator. My goodness. And like they never left, the church is back. That's on the front page of The Nation. Voice of Reason, Alexander Muga, John Henry Okulu, Ndingi Mwananzeki, David Gitari, Timothy Njoya. These bishops stood out as men of God with a heart for justice. Fiery and fearless, they inspired public confidence while speaking against the government of the day. Some of them even had to pay the price with their lives, but this was decades ago. Now, after a lull, during which the church has taken a beating from all quarters, a new crop of bold clergy is emerging. And we'll look at that as well. Kenya suffers service delays as hackers strike. Are they here? And how hard have they put in their attack? Nairobi Water lost 10 billion to theft and 40 meters. We looked at some of that yesterday. Save workers from high power cost. MPs have been urged. And on the back page of The Nation today, we're looking at the unions in more details. And Francis Atwoli came out guns blazing yesterday and said, you know what? Workers have to pay this. Stop it.
Yeah.
Can't.
You can be a business daily.
It's funny, evil.
Hackers shake Kenya's digital financial system. That's the big story in the Business Daily. A major cyber attack that caused an outage of more than 5,000 public services in Kenya. Over 5,000 public services for more than 48 hours, while disabling internet-based and mobile payment platforms has exposed the growing threat of payment services disruptions to the economy. It hit a critical section of the country's financial system with M-Pesa, a mobile service product that is fast turning into an artery for the circulation of money in Kenya, being disrupted. Big one. Higher. Small headline. This could have been the big headline had the Sudan guys not be done it. I'm sure this was going to be the big headline in the Business Daily today. Bank loan rates rise past 20% in repricing cycle. Kenyan banks have increased interest rates on customer loans in the latest pricing cycle that will see customers deemed riskiest pay more than 20%, triggered by the rise in the CBK's benchmark lending rates. Lenders have in the past week been informing their customers about the impending adjustments from next month that will affect both new and existing credit facilities. The new rates being implemented across July and August. Depending on the risk profile of customers, banks are charging a spread of about 6% on top of the base lending rate. Meaning that some customers will pay more than 18% after this review. Stanbic, for example, will start charging 18.57 on its mobile loans from August 21st, having lifted its base lending rate to 13.15. Equity lifted its base lending rate from 12 to 14%. Anyway, that was going to be the big one.
Pole.
Until the anonymous guys did the anonymous thing. Higher ticker headlines. CBK to consult IMF when it loses handle on inflation.
Okay.
The IMF has revealed a monetary policy consultation clause with the Central Bank of Kenya as it seeks to have a bigger say in the decisions taken by Kenya's apex bank in its fight to contain runaway inflation. Basically, the IMF has said we want to have an office in CBK, all right?
Clear space.
All right. In fact, we want to take a whole floor, okay? Can you just make sure, all right? So we'll be operating from there. And anything that you want to do, you meet as a monetary policy committee, first consult us. Any decision that you, before you announce it, come to us and tell us. So the CBK's monetary policy committee has met and they've decided to maintain the base lending rate. The IMF will be like, nah.
We're not doing that.
Raise it. Raise it. Yeah. And that's it, okay? Guy?
No comment. No comment.
Hiya. EABL, those are those brewers, you know them. They have
okay.
Their dividend has dropped by half as profit has fallen to 12 billion shillings.
Well done.
Their profit has fallen to 12 billion shillings in that year ended June. And so their dividends imekuja chini. There's another big story. Safaricom unveils 100,000 interest-free M-Pesa loans. It's a zero-interest credit service for the purchase of goods for up to 100,000 shillings, which the financial regulator had initially blocked. It's dubbed Faraja. The credit service is expected to ruffle the ubiquitous mobile loans market that has been dominated by such products as Fuliza, a mobile overdraft service, also on M-Pesa. This Faraja will enable more than 32 million Safaricom customers to buy on credit from businesses on the telco's Lipa na M-Pesa. Customers can now purchase goods worth between 20 and 100,000 shillings at zero interest fee and complete that payment within 30 days. See, Fuliza...
You get cash in your hand.
No, Fuliza, you go and you're about to pay, but then you don't have sufficient money in your M-Pesa.
Yeah.
So you Fuliza.
Yeah.
So you top up to be able to pay to purchase.
In your M-Pesa.
But then you pay back with interest. And it's within a short time. So Fuliza is basically a short cycle overdraft facility. I think 48 hours or something. Now this one is a 30-day interest-free Fuliza.
Very interesting.
Interest-free 30 days.
How do they make their money? You're still using their platform to pay for it, right?
Yeah. There's a partnership, and I think we should get these guys. I know who this person is. Edom X Limited, a Kenyan-based financial technology firm, and Safaricom have partnered to roll out this service. Currently, the service is available across all Naivas supermarket outlets, Good Life pharmacies, and City Walk, among other merchants. Businesses on Faraja will receive payment in full for a product or service immediately after a customer makes a payment through the service.
Voila.
Hiyo ni kubwa sana. How do they make their money? We will find out. Let me tell you about the Nairobian quickly. Then we do like that.
All right.
The Nairobian dynasties, how they mint millions, revealed the secret lives of rich kids. We unveil the untold story of how politicians' kids live away from the glare of the media, from Moho Kenyatta to Charlene Ruto to Rosemary Odinga and to Annalisa Moigai.
Okay.
Minor Njenga, 72 hours of terror in the hands of the police. They tell that story as well. They also tell the story that we read yesterday in the news. Nairobi man faces charges for grabbing traffic cop's bum. Detention, shock over Shakahola victims and what they're doing at the rescue centers, according to the ODPP.
Doing what?
Doing what? I'll tell you.
Sheesh.
Why? Mudhama turns ex-wife's home into a garden.
Come on. Seriously. Like what? A public garden? Come sit down.
Okay. Are you thinking of purchasing a pre-owned motor vehicle? What should you do with a motor Gary that's been...
to Automark. Automark is the pre-owned subsidiary of CFAO Motors, and they're saying that, look, get away from the entire drama of having to go and talk to an agent, a wily guy somewhere in a corner who's going to tell you it's 100,000 kilometers mileage when it's actually 3 times that. You know, you don't have to go through all of that drama. Come to Automark. They show you the vehicles. They tell you the truth about the situation of the car. They also offer financing. So look, have a conversation with them, and what you see is what you get.
Straight.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Looks like traffic is just starting out in most parts on the Thika Superhighway. Is coming in just past Muthaiga Square, getting out towards the CBD. Have a little bit of movement beyond that, right around Garden City Mall, then getting out towards Outer Ring at the junction. It's starting to build up on Limuru Road, and we're seeing some movement around Westlands, that whole area. A little bit of honks and toots here and there take you into the city. On Uhuru Highway, it's also busy. Jogo Road started early, and we probably will not see this let up for some time. On the other side of things, coming in from Langata Road and Magadi Road, touching on the southern bypass a little bit here and there, not much going on. Friday morning is just getting started. We'll let you know what it looks like later. Talk to us as well and help put all this together. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Friday.
Nairobi.
Catch up with the 4th episode of Faithless on
Showmax.
Did you? Well, you should. If you haven't, just go to showmax.com. Faithless is this beautiful
original title by Showmax. Bringing in the best of Kenyan talent, going through this crime drama about what happens when you run into some money and you're not quite sure whose it is. Do you follow the way of your church and your church sisters and say, let's take the money to the church? Or do you say, life has shown us opportunity. Shall we take this opportunity? And then you find out that your older brother is caught in this dragnet of crime and there's somebody who's looking for him. What do you do? That is the beginning of the story. I won't tell you more, and I know you want to know. All you need to do is to log on to Showmax, pay, subscribe, and watch.
It's like that.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Hiya, let's look at the stories.
Under attack, Kenya fights cyber hackers, and there's certain questions. At a glance, a group called itself Anonymous Sudan claims responsibility for what we saw yesterday. ITS CS Eliud Owalo confirms the attack but says no data was stolen. He was here yesterday. He told us that there was one. This was maybe an hour or two before we saw the effects of what else would have happened later on in the day. We also did see that there was some communication that came from his office then into the hours of Thursday. Telecommunications giant Safaricom confesses to having challenges. They did have quite some, and anybody else who used their platform for the movement or transaction of money then also suffered. We're looking at banks. We're looking at your power tokens and all of this. So everybody was then sending out statements by the time it was lunch hour yesterday.
Yes.
Interior Ministry confirms momentary disruption caused by attempted cyber attack. Momentary, one could say, depends on your definition, but was more or less the
momentary
whole day.
Disruption.
Yes.
Right.
National Cybersecurity Committee had warned of the targeted attacks on critical infrastructure installations. They had said this. We're interested to know when. E-Citizen, I do not know if as of this morning it's back up, but yesterday, not working yet again. So all government services are on e-Citizen.
Many of them.
We also then did see that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs then granted visa on arrival for anybody who then had tried to get an e-visa, because obviously this is a platform that houses this. It didn't happen. So it was granted that consideration that you can now reach the shores of Kenya by whatever means and then get your visa on arrival. if that meant you were affected. All you needed to do was have that. And so they were asking for highest considerations from all embassies involved. The question is, what happened? A hacking group calling itself Anonymous Sudan claimed responsibility for the attack that saw the e-citizen platform taken down for several hours and Kenyans unable to access several public services. You have to respect Sudan, the group posted on its Telegram channel. We want to inform you that many passports of Kenyan citizens have been stolen from a government center. All data will be sold after we finish stealing everything. Okay. ICT Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo yesterday confirmed that there had been a distributed denial of service, that is a DDoS attack on the platform, but said that the attackers did not steal any data. Of that, he was unequivocal. He said that. He said that while he was here. He also said that in his statement later. Safaricom customers yesterday took to social media to express frustration at being unable to use M-Pesa and business apps for the better part of the day. The firm's USSD service. What does USSD mean? Okay, I'll give you that later.
Are you asking? Oh, you're asking?
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Come on, just continue reading.
So I'll continue reading.
Maswali ndogo ndogo, it's like asking, what does good morning mean? You know?
We know these things.
Yeah.
Okay, so no problem. The firm's USSD service, however, remained active and the company had a hard time explaining the situation. According to Safaricom, they said, apologies for the inconvenience. We have had challenges on the platform. Once resolved, you will be notified. It was a PR. There's a lot of people who went to PR yesterday trying to be as prim and proper as possible without saying, man, we're scared. We don't know what's going on.
Tumechapwa.
Yeah.
Kimeturamba.
Exactly. At the same time, several banks, including Standard Chartered, Stanbic, NCBA, as well as Equity, informed customers that mobile banking services were temporarily unavailable. So it was clear at some point that something needed to come from government in terms of what was going on, and we saw that come from the Ministry of ICT. We also then saw the Ministry of Foreign Affairs then talk to institutions around the world with that circular to let them know that folks can keep traveling, because you can imagine the many things that would have been affected had you not. You have people traveling in the thousands to Kenya. E-visas, which you get in an hour. None of that was working. And so how would that be affected? People whose entire transactional experience is on M-Pesa from morning till night was not working. And most you can say is, we're working on it. What are you working on?
You know? And we'll have an expert joining us in the next hour, but this is huge. This is huge. And the government is, trying to play it down, but really you can't play it down.
No, you can't.
This is a big one.
This
is a big one. Call it whatever you want to call it. Call it, okay, it's just a distributed denial of service. What they're doing is just trying to deny service. They're not necessarily entering into data. But
somebody's just hanging
listen,
at the gate, nothing.
Denial of service. Government operates to serve. So when you deny the government the opportunity to serve,
government is not working,
my friend.
And then this one is what
huge.
The National Cybersecurity Committee had warned of targeted attacks on critical infrastructure installations. They had said this is going to happen. How secure are you? How are your information channels?
Even their communication to whoever they're communicating, just be vigilant. Be vigilant. You are the experts.
You tell us what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
like say, okay, this is what we need you to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Send with some
upgrade your security
SOPs, standard operating procedure in this kind of situation, so that we avoid any attack. Do this. Can you check this, and the other? And you start creating a database or a log of what's happening in your system. So in case you're attacked, we can then trace back into something. Nothing. They're just saying, oh, by the way, mwizi anaweza kuja hapa kesho, so mfunge mlango. Make sure mfunga mlango, because wezi wanaweza kuja hapa anytime next week. Wezi wanaweza kuja kwa estate. Mfunge mlango tafadhali. What are you saying? What are you saying? Anyway, we'll have that conversation in the next hour. Okay?
Yep.
You want Mushene or you want some big news?
Both.
Let's do the big one, then we'll end with the Mushene. Sawa. The church is back. That's what the nation is saying. Okay.
Where have they gone?
And they are looking at all this, and it's basically some sort of analysis and saying, if you look at what we are now seeing from the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, the Interfaith Council, the SUPKEM, Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, and the others, what they've been saying recently, going to as far as expressly asking the government to repeal the Finance Act. This is big. So there is your USSD.
Thank you. Unstructured supplementary service data. Where? I knew that.
Google in idea what to. So, religious leaders are in a quest to reclaim their space after stinging criticism for failing to condemn the state's excesses over the last 2 decades. Previously, the country had been treated to fiery and fearless clerics who inspired public confidence. Some of the men of the cloth who you had mentioned earlier, the late Bishop Alexander Muga, John Okulu, Archbishop Ndingi Monanzeki, David Gitari, the late Archbishop Manasseh Kuria as well, Timothy Njoya and others, they pushed for return to multi-party democracy in the 90s, and they were vocal against atrocities and other human rights abuses committed by the ruling regimes. And then in the last 2 decades, they've just like sort of been quiet and compliant and, just sitting back and cheering on the government. And now they're coming out stronger and saying something. Is the church really coming out?
Of what?
Of
that
their
would
slumber.
Be my question.
Of their slumber. Of their moment when, the church was not even speaking with one voice. Remember whenever we've hosted here, we hosted the former provost.
Yeah, we've hosted
the Archbishop Muheria. We've hosted Archbishop. Yeah. When we keep asking, where is the voice of the church? And particularly the former provost of the All Saints Cathedral. Would actually say, sometimes unity of voice is lacking. So that voice does not come out as strong, or does not come out as many people who are saying. Because as we say this, then we're also seeing these other churches which are welcoming these politicians, giving them the pulpit to come and spew their hatred, and all appearing like, all they want is money. Now, those ones who are giving the politicians the pulpit are actually the ones who have now direct access to the state. And these other ones who are denying the politicians the pulpit are on the outside. That's why they're trying to fight and come back in. I think this is a fight of relevance.
Honestly,
fight for relevance.
I just, unfortunately, you would have to convince me that it is not. Because that's my initial thing. Everybody wants to be seen to be saying something. So that when the day passes, it will not be that Eric did not speak when given the opportunity or did not say something. Because the truth of the matter is that the church, having been given this moral platform upon which it stands, we should not be talking about coming back. You see what I'm saying? That's why I said came back from what? We should have been talking about a time, or we should be talking about times where all the time it is clear what the position of the church is. So when you say they have come back, from what? Where did they go? And if they went, why did they go? Why did they go away? Why did they become silent? And I think that's the question that needs to be asked. See, if you're saying you're coming back, then I'm going to say, well, then it looks as though you need to be heard at a time where everybody else is weighing into a conversation. You're taking advantage of the opportunity.
They're expecting us to, welcome them back like the prodigal son.
You should have never left.
Chinja mbuzi, wakaribishe, waambie karibuni sana.
Yeah. I'm saying it should have never been silent. Nobody asks questions about Alexander Muga. Was there a time where he was silent? Nobody asks that because he was not. Nobody asks, when did Ndingi Mwananzeki come back? He never went anywhere. You were very sure that he was going to be speaking. When did Okulu keep quiet? Did they keep quiet? They didn't keep quiet. And so if that is the measure that you're putting these new voices against, then I have to ask, why were they ever quiet? Having been given the platform, why was there ever silence?
But Provost Wainaina has been vocal.
He's going to stand out for me.
He's not coming back.
He was not coming back because he has always been vocal.
Yeah.
And I remember a conversation that I had with him, and I said, you can't relinquish this voice that has been here. You cannot relinquish it to someone else. And he said, actually, you know what? You're right. I said, yeah, because who else is speaking?
Yeah. There's nobody else speaking.
Nobody's speaking.
So the Archbishop Muheria has also been visible, all right? In terms of the extent of the vocality, that's a bit different. Archbishop Muheria was shutting down churches during COVID. Well, he was.
Okay.
Let's just say, right? But he was visible. Was Archbishop Muheria speaking up against atrocities and things that are being committed? Yes, I could actually say that he was. But was he as vocal as he's now coming out and saying to the extent, no, Mr. President, actually repeal this Finance Act. It's not working well. Mr. President, what we are seeing now with these arrests, with bodies turning up in Rivayala, Mr. President, take action, or government take action, or police, whoever is responsible, we need to see justice. Okay, we're not really hearing these voices. I remember that they were speaking out against politicians who were coming into the pulpit and using the pulpit, going all the way into the Archbishop Ole Sapit saying, we have actually decreed that in the Anglican Church, you do not even come and give us your cash donations. Write a check and you tell us where the check is coming from.
Yep.
During
the week.
So all those things were happening. Maybe what the nation is now seeing is this particular one where it's been a series of back-to-back press conferences. Let's do this. Let's have dialogue. Let's repeal. Listen to the voice of the people and all that.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. Tell us another one, then I'll tell you the two stories.
Okay. So I wanted to look into this a little bit. Taxi driver speaks on the day he carried Sharon's killers. In case we didn't know, this story still continues. We're still looking at the state's case in the murder trial of Sharon. And the case is brought against former Migori Governor Okoh Obado. The taxi driver narrates how he was hired to ferry Sharon's killers. And why am I bringing this out? Because, you kind of forget that some of these things are actually happening, right? As the court process goes on. But this guy is very clear about how he did what he did. He narrated how he was hired to ferry the alleged killers of university student Sharon Otieno. Jackson Otieno Gombe testified that he did not even know that he had carried the killers from Rongo Town to the killing forest in Oyugis Town. He also said that he was not aware that Sharon had been murdered. Since the killers kept him in the dark until when he was arrested on suspicion that he was part of the scheme. I did not know that the lady I had carried was Sharon and that she was murdered until I saw the news on television. It was until I was arrested that I came to know that the people I carried had murdered the lady, allegedly, of course. Gombe was testifying in the case where former Migori Governor Okoh Obado, his former personal assistant Michael Oyamo, and former Migori County Clerk Casper Obiero are charged with the murder of Sharon and her unborn baby on September 3rd, 2018. It's interesting how all of these individuals, we saw some other people last week, there were eyewitnesses, everybody gives their account, and this is all kind of fitting into a puzzle, fitting rather the pieces of a puzzle into what could have actually happened and how now the law is slowly but surely taking its course. It'll be interesting to see what the outcome of this will be and how the evidence that is gathered is going to be used to form the process of this trial. It's very interesting to see what will happen or whether the threshold for evidence would have been met.
That's the thing. It's a murder case, right?
Yes.
Threshold is beyond reasonable doubt. What? Okay. There's a lot of drama that's coming out. Apparently there was this woman who was texting Sharon and warning her, keep away from my husband. There's now all these other.
But then look at it, right? This happened in 2018. It went to. We had the pre-trials and all of this in 2020. The case started in earnest in 2021.
Yep.
Now, look at all this that's happening. And then, because look, we can't run away, as has been the norm over the last 6 months. After all of this, can somebody actually now come out and say, well, the evidence that we
didn't have evidence, all these witnesses and stories they're telling.
Just stories. Imagine.
Well, we hope in the end there will be justice for Sharon and her child, because that's it. Higher. The current Machakos senator is called who? Current Machakos senator. Agnes Kavindu.
Okay.
The first term Machakos senator is called Johnson Muthama. These two
Who are married.
and they have children. And then they divorced. They got married a long time ago in 1975. They divorced in 1983. Between 1975 and 1983, they had 3 children. Okay?
Okay.
Then they actually properly officially divorced. But in 1995, that's about 12 years after the divorce, they reconciled and remarried in accordance with Kamba customary law.
Nice.
Okay? Then thereafter, in this decade of the 20s, in this century of the 20s, they divorced again.
Okay.
Sawa.
All right.
So after remarrying in 95, they got another baby. So they have 4 children together. Now, this matter came to the fore a couple of years ago when it was alleged that Mudhama had ordered Kavindu to move from their Mua home and had withdrawn all necessary support. Now, she filed a case in court saying, I am being evicted from this home. Mudhama won that case, and the court allowed him to take possession of his home. It's in Mua Hills. It's a palatial home. It's on page 9 of the Nairobian. Beautiful. Now, he has decided to convert it into an events garden. Okay? You want to have an event, you can come and meet there. He turned the house into an events garden in 2019 after winning the case. He says, I have taken over my home that was abandoned and renovations are going on as we speak. Once completed, anybody seeking to visit must be vetted. It'll also be a meeting point for all the Mudhama children.
How many are they?
All the entire Mudhama children, to quote him verbatim. No.
Oh, there were others later, right. Got it.
You cannot enter that gate before some calls are made. So all the children are... But however, what he did is he built Agnes a home about 10 kilometers from this one and said his children
should have a place to live.
I am an African man who cannot wish away his blood.
It's true.
Sawa. So you ni moja. Now, what's happening in Shakahola? The state has raised concerns that 65 victims who are crucial witnesses in the case against suspected Shakahola cult leader Paul Mackenzie are engaging in sex at the rescue centers.
With each other?
The state applied to have the 65 victims rescued from Shakahola forest who are detained at a rescue center in Mtwapa to be moved to Shimolatawa prison to avoid unwanted pregnancies. Through Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions, Jami Yamina, the state has expressed fears that it may soon be faced with cases of unwanted pregnancies and gender-based violence at the Sajanadi Rescue Center where they are being held. This is what the Assistant DPP told the Senior Principal Magistrate of Shanzu Court. The victims have regained health. They are strong, so the male and the females must be separated. We don't want to blame the rescue center for unwanted pregnancies and GBV cases.
I ask again. This is amongst themselves.
Yeah, the 65 are in this rescue center. They have regained health. They are okay. Now the DPP is saying the things that these people are doing.
Remove them from here.
Let's separate them, please. Put the men on one side, put the women on the other side, and the best place to do that is Shimolatawa.
My goodness.
I do not know why the state would call this unwanted pregnancy.
It's wanted, clearly. Nobody is being forced.
Have they told you they didn't want it?
They didn't want Did you ask them what is their plan?
Yeah. Has anybody
populating?
fallen pregnant here and they came and said it was unwanted? However, there's a likelihood. The other thing is the DPP saying that they are engaging in forced sex?
But what is this?
Or is it consensual?
How many problems can you deal with? These ones wanted to go and meet Jesus. They were being starved. They were then found in the forest. Then they were now arrested. Now they were put in the rescue center.
They started eating. They got clarity. They were like,
they started eating. Then the brain cleared. Then
we have been starved.
We've been starved across board of food and also nothing where Musa never see forgets. My goodness.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Let's talk about what's happening in the country. We are under a cyber attack, and what does that mean? Is this a terrorism a case of terrorism, or is it just a case of, well, you know, it's just a cyber attack? I mean, come on.
What's the big
issue? What's the big issue? I mean, please. Bomayangu.go.ke is the government's affordable housing platform. Has it been hacked? Able to try and open Bomayangu, and we see. No. Bomayangu.go.ke. No, it's working. Go register. Bomayangu is working, and get into the affordable housing program. It's 7 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The Court of Appeal today is expected to give a directive on whether the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 will continue or not. Judges of the Court of Appeal Mohammed Warsame, Kathuri Maminoti and Hello Omondi have been scheduled to hear the matter after Finance CS Njuguna Ndungumweru Court to oppose the decision to suspend the implementation of the Act by High Court Judge Mugure Thande. Thande made the ruling after Busia Senator Okoh Mtata and other petitioners opposed the implementation of the law, saying it was arrived at without following the due law and that it increases the cost of living for Kenyans. According to Ndungu, the suspension of the law paralyzes government activities. Ndungu asked the court to cancel the order, stressing that the suspension of the law continues to disrupt this year's budget. This comes few days after Chief Justice Martha Koome appointed a panel of 3 judges to hear the case after Judge Mugure Thande said the case should be taken into consideration because it is important. The judges who will hear the matter are David Majanja, Lawrence Mugambi and Christine Meoli. And normal services have resumed on the government's e-citizen platform following system interruptions spurred by an attempted cyber attack. The development was preceded by ICTCS Edidowalu confirming that hackers attempted to compromise the system during the course of the week. In a subsequent statement, however, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration announced that the platform is now operating optimally. Now, a fierce debate was witnessed in Parliament on the way police officers allegedly used excessive force on peaceful demonstrators.
But on this front, the police of Kenya has failed Kenyans. They've turned into a killing squad. As I stand here, you're seeing me in a black headscarf. I'm mourning 2 young men from my sub-location. One killed in Kondele at the flyover, way beyond the time of the demonstration. But as he's going home from work, a policeman at the flyover shoots at him. The boy had absolutely nothing.
From my home, Madam Speaker, up to Ahero, I go through 200 roadblocks erected by ODM goons. And you want the police to sit by and watch as my right is infringed. Madam Speaker, we will not allow.
Those youths that you are killing using the police and the militia require jobs that you promised them. Stop killing them. That is the message Kenyans are sending to you, Kenya Kwanza, Madam Speaker. And that message will be sent to you whether Raila Odinga is involved or not.
You are shouting for me not to tell you the truth, but I'll speak the truth to you. As leaders from Luo Nyanza, you must lead from the front. You must stop mobilizing your people to death. You must say enough is enough.
The motion was tabled by Kisumu Women Representative Rosa Buyu, who was complaining about the violation of the constitution during the demonstrations. Now, human rights groups are demanding justice for a businessman who was shot in Kiamaiko, Nairobi. Speaking after an autopsy on the body of Galano Hassan Yusuf at the city mortuary, the groups led by Haki Africa condemned the shooting as extrajudicial killing. Galano, 33, was a father of 3. Haki Africa Executive Director Hussein Khalid said the autopsy showed Galano was shot from behind.
Dr. Ndegwa has confirmed that he died out of a single shot from the back. Alipigwa katikati ya mgongo na ikatoka kwa mdomo. And it fractured the base of the skull, and that was the cause. We don't want delays, tuambiwe sijui investigation, sijui nini, ashikwe haraka iwezekanavyo. Evidence is so open, is so clear, afikishwe mahakamani.
A taxi driver testifying in the Sharon Otieno murder case claims to have driven her and others to the scene of crime where she was allegedly killed in Ombaso County. The driver, Jackson Otieno Gombe, was testifying against Governor Okoh and others charged with the murder of the university student and her unborn baby. Gombe narrated to the court how he was instructed to stop and switch off the car engine, and 3 men left in the car and walked away with the expectant Rongo University student. He alleged that after the 3 men alighted together with the Sharon, they returned after about 10 to 20 minutes without the deceased.
Nikaambiwa nisime light na za gari, light nisime zile light za gari. Sita ukiza ndani ama hatukuwa kisa taa ndani. Tota ipi? Taa za gari za mbele ama ukizima zote zinasimika nyuma wa mbele. Okay. Nilitoa lock na wakaingia. Na nikaona wako watatu, nikauliza na wapi msichana, na wakaniambia huyo tumemwacha kwao. Baadaye wakaniambia twende Migori.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, after 7 o'clock, let's see what Friday morning is looking like. It's now heavy with traffic coming into the city on the Thika Superhighway, just past Mathare and Survey as well. Before that, we've seen heavy traffic then coming in from Garden City, and it's going to continue for some time for all that we see. It's manageable, though. You can use the service lanes to get through. James Gishoro is starting to build up now as you get towards Waiaki Way. It's going to pack up also on Huru Highway for sure, and that's inbound from museums and to the CBD. Outbound traffic on Uhuru Highway is going to see it coming from the Haile Selassie Junction and then out towards the CBD. Gong Road also piling up. And we're seeing movement on Jago Road, which we saw earlier. The Eastern Bypass has quite some as well. It's Friday morning. It's not too crazy, but it will pick up. We'll be here for it. Let us know what's going on, where you are, and then let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7. How are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room this lovely Friday morning. Happy Friday, wherever you're tuned in. We are now live on Spice FM, KTN Home. Welcome to our audience who are joining us on KTN Home. Also live on YouTube and Facebook, like we are every weekday morning. It's Friday. It's the 28th day of July. The 28th day of August will be on a Monday. The 28th day of September will be on a Thursday. The 28th day of October will be on a Sunday. And that Sunday, we will be marking 20 years of running in Nairobi in the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. And Standard Chartered is telling you, let's start registering now for the 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. You can go to nairobimarathon.com. It's working. It's not been hacked. nairobimarathon.com. Register. It's 2,000 shillings only. Start getting ready. Start preparing yourself for the 20th edition Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. It'll happen in Nairobi and across the country. The Nairobi race will be flagged off at Uhuru Gardens. Then you run along the Southern Bypass. Of course, just like it's happened in the last couple of years, there'll be a race in other parts of the country. Mombasa, most likely. We've seen a race in Kakamega. We've seen races in
Mombasa.
Kisumu. We've seen races in Eldoret. So there will be races, and Standard Chartered will be also announcing what other places this race will be taking place. But the main one is the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon in Nairobi along the Southern Bypass, flagged off at Uhuru Gardens on the 29th of October, Sunday. Register today. Start preparing today. right?
Right.
Yes. Spread a smile, Ndu.
Let's do it. 150,000 people. Imagine how many people those are. Now imagine 150,000 people don't have adequate access to clean drinking water, water for sanitary purposes. So Colgate says, you know what? Let's see how we can make this happen so that these 150,000 people would have access to this water. And so how can we involve you? Walk into any Naivas today, buy a tube or many tubes of Colgate toothpaste. The proceeds from that toothpaste that you purchase goes towards making sure that 30 water wells are sunk in different communities in Kenya, and you eliminate problem after problem after problem with the sinking of one water well. So how about you do that today? Colgate says, let's help to provide clean drinking water, clean water for use in the home, clean water for so many other things, for people, for families, for communities. And you can be part of that, putting a smile on somebody's face.
Indeed. Under attack, Kenya fights cyber hackers. That's the headline in the Standard this morning, and the editors decided to give it the dramatic effect of putting it in black. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, at a glance, a group calling itself Anonymous Sudan claims responsibility. ICT Cabinet Secretary Eldoret confirms that attack but says no data was stolen. Telecom giant Safaricom confesses to having challenges. Interior Ministry confirms momentary disruption caused by attempted cyber attack. National Cybersecurity Committee had warned of targeted attacks on critical infrastructure. eCitizen, the platform through which citizens access government services, most affected, with most of the services on eCitizen actually unavailable. What does that mean? We're joined by a data scientist, Kennedy Wangare. Kennedy works at the United Nations Environment Program, but he's here in his own capacity as a data expert. Good morning, Kennedy.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much, and grateful to be here, to be hosted by you.
That's a hot seat of the situation, bro.
Yes.
Yeah. So are you a hacker?
I'm an ethical hacker, I would say so. And considering that I work with data, so I have to be conversant to understand how I collect data, how I process data, and how I deal with sensitive data and comply with the rules and regulations that are there. So I would say yes, partly. I'm a data professional, yes, in my day-to-day work. And as a hacker, I upskill myself because with the evolving trends, there is need for data professionals to be aware of how they work with data and all that goes about.
Yes. All right. Karibu sana. Let me welcome you with the day's proverb. CT would have given you the proverb, but CT is away today. He will be joining us hopefully next week. The proverbs for this week are from the country of Lesotho, written Lesotho. So today's proverb is, cows lick each other because they know each other.
Oh.
Cows lick each other because they know each other. What do you think? What's your interpretation of it?
Cows lick each other because they know or they're familiar with each other. What I would say is that my own interpretation and understanding is that people who are closely associated or who share similar interests are aware of the associations and what brings them together. And within the context of today's discussion, I would say all the different stakeholders that are involved within the data ecosystem, within basically the ICT ecosystem, are fully aware of these pressing issues because if you look at from a government perspective, there's the push towards digitalization and this being a multi-stakeholder conversation that brings together different parties together from government, private sector, technology firms. They're all aware of the goals and the vision. Like for a country, we want to achieve the Vision 2030. We also have the SDGs. So we are aware of the goals and the objectives that we want to achieve. And we sort of are working towards, contributing different efforts, but towards the same goal. So I would look at it from that context that, we all cows, we understand where we headed to, or we understand our patterns, and we are working towards that. So that's my own layman's.
What do you think of that interpretation?
I think if CT were here, he would have given you 10 million points.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good interpretation.
It is.
It's your perspective of it.
Yes.
Now introduce us to data scientists. What do data scientists do?
We're in a data-driven economy where we're generating data in almost every field, in every second. Basically, we've heard of artificial intelligence, these emerging technologies, data science, machine learning, and all these buzzwords. All these are basically technologies and ways that we're looking at how, as organizations, we can leverage the large volumes of data, like if it's within the media station, like at Spice, for all the sessions that we've been having, looking at how can we be able to derive insights from the data that can help us power data-driven decision-making processes. Maybe in the future, we're able to unlock opportunities, we're able to support our businesses. So it's more of bringing together people, technology, and data that we've generated to help us be able to see further and to be able to unlock opportunities and support our businesses in data-driven decision-making processes. Yes.
So, because you're dealing with data, then you must also think of the security of that data.
Yes.
Right? And so, securing that data is part of your job as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Or is it somebody else? So you just collect the data, you're analyzing the data, but then somebody else is standing guard.
Like I did mention as the start of our conversation, is that as data professionals, people who are dealing with data at any point, whether it's collection, whether it's processing, whether it's utilization, there's need for us to understand all the nuances in terms of how do we deal with this data, in terms of what are the regulations that are there, how do we comply, because again, there are a lot of conversations around how we deal with sensitive data, both from a local perspective all the way to international levels. So you find that as data professionals, anyone who is working with data at any level, there's need for us to understand how do we comply with the rules and regulations that are there. How do we also protect this sensitive, be it corporate data? How do we also ensure that our systems are properly functioning? So all these are conversations, all these are gaps that we seek out to gain skills and expertise so that we can be able to conform with the rules and also don't find yourself on the wrong side.
Okay, the current buzzword, cyber attack.
Yes.
What does that mean?
In layman's term, I would define cyber attack as a malicious threat or activity that's sent to either a computer application with either two intentions. One, to steal or to basically to gain unauthorized access to your systems, to steal confidential data, or to cripple your systems, or to basically, that has been, I would say, that is the main motive when it comes to all these malicious activities. You're trying to basically penetrate and access someone's system with the main motive of stealing their confidential data, and maybe if you have other socio-political reasons, then you're able now to execute that. But mainly, it's all about unauthorized access to your system, access the data, maybe for financial reasons, or maybe for other purposes. Okay. Like in the case of Anonymous Sudan and all that they've been doing with the different countries and all that. Yeah.
Okay. So, in order for us to understand the severity of an attack, a cyber attack, I mean, everybody in Kenya yesterday was on tenterhooks because of what was going on. But before we get into the details of that, help us understand. It's very clear in my mind that if you were living in a four-walled, house, there's a perimeter fence, there is a gate, there's even a guard at the gate, isn't it? And we can see that. They say there's primary level of protection has then been provided. You might have an electric fence and these other things, right? And that's a physical protection that you can see from somebody, an intruder, then accessing the compound or whatever, right? Now, in this cyberspace, explain to us what security then looks like that prohibits an intruder from coming in and doing these things that you've spoken about. What does that, so we can understand, what does that space look like? So that when we hear that there was an attack, we understand, okay, exactly how somebody got in, what did they do?
Oh, great. When we talk of cybersecurity, there are four key things that we look into as much as the landscape is quite evolving and new trends and developments. One is, can we be able to identify these threats? Can we be able to identify any suspicious intrusion to our systems? So we're basically looking at, can we be able to put together strategies to ensure that no unauthorized access It could be maybe implementation of passwords or role-based mechanisms and other cybersecurity measures to ensure that only the authorized people have access. So that's one way to putting together strategies to ensure that we can be able to identify any intrusion, any suspicious intrusion. Second being able to put together strategies that can help us to mitigate in the event that we've been able to identify that, there was an attempted attack or on our social media pages, maybe on our databases. Can we be able to mitigate? So this is where now we're able to design strategies that could help us now to mitigate. This is where you find that organizations will be able, like if you're dealing with communication, will be able to install and implement email content filtering systems. We'll have maybe examples of maybe firewalls within our networks, like let's say maybe within the KTN Home and Spice Home network. Are we able to install firewalls? Would go on and on the different ways that would help us in terms of how do we mitigate. Would probably also bring in an anti-malware softwares to help us detect. So all these are basically strategies to help us being able to mitigate in real time this particular suspicious activity that we've been able to identify, and also that being implementing or putting in place strategies that can help us once we've been able to identify this particular threat or this suspicious activity. We've been able to put together strategies and ways that can help us mitigate the different cyber threats, because there are quite a number of them, and even more and more that are evolving within the space. How can we also be able to, in the event that we have, let's say, a massive data breach, can we be able to recover in real time? Like in our case, as you've put it across, there was anxiety and worry from Monday that our systems have been down. From let's say 2 weeks ago, KEB system were down. Maybe like someone who's, let's say maybe you've been a user of the KEB system, and then a few days later you're undergoing the same unpleasant experiences with the eCitizen platform. So amidst all those worries and anxieties, do we have in place strategies that can help us in real time once we have cases of a massive data breach or the intrusion? Can we be able in real time to recover and have our system properly functioning? Because there was like yesterday, the CS assured us that the systems are back, and we probably from today they'll be running. Do we have strategies in place that can help us in real time? We can be able to have our systems running.
Attacked, this is what we can do to recover as soon as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with all those things that you've said, and just going with the example that Ndu gave, how do thugs get into our home? So we've put up the perimeter wall, we've put the electric fence, we've put those glass bottles. Yeah, we've done all. We've installed CCTV, we've put burglar-proof windows and doors and all those things. And then a thug enters. How do we say it was either an inside job, somebody from the inside opened for them, or they scaled the wall, they put a ladder at the wall, and they used something. They disconnected electricity. They knew how to disconnect the electric fence. They got in. When a hacker gets in, what route do they use? Are you able to actually trace this was the weak point and this is how they came in? And how do they identify those weak points?
Great. That's a great question. One thing is that you realize is that the cybersecurity and threats landscape is quite evolving. If you look at the 2022 report from Communication Authority of Kenya, there's also the Pan-African Cybersecurity Report 2022, and I think there's the Seriano report also in around the same 2022 report, all around the current landscape within Africa on matters cybersecurity. You realize that there's the evolution of how the hackers have been able to access our systems, but along the years there's the evolution and new trends that are coming up. In that, one way would be there's the inside job. Like a good case example I would like to use is the 2019. There have been reports, alleged reports that if you walk down the memory lane in our country on how our systems have been hacked up to the conversation that we're having today. In 2019, there were reports that the Chinese government was spying on Kenya, and they were able to steal large volumes of data around Kenya's debt ceiling to China and repayment strategies. And how that came about was because one of the government employees, like as you did put it across, and this being an internal government employee, maybe because of lack of knowledge, they were able to download some infected documents online, and that's how the hackers were able to have access and infiltrate the systems. So that gives you one example of the traditional ways that these hackers have been able to leverage on, be it the vulnerabilities on the systems, be it maybe like the phishing attacks. Like we did give an example of the different types of attacks, like where you could fake a communication or an email, and then someone clicks a link, and you're able to steal the information. So there are those examples of the different traditional ways that hackers have been leveraging on to have access, either using internal people from within, or being able to use more sophisticated ways. Like now, if you go by the report, you're able to see, like in Kenya, that like one of the reports, that's the CAK report, they've indicated the number of the different kind of attacks, the majority being malware attacks. You'll find that most of the people are now being able to have their systems or their accounts being hacked through email and phishing. But also, again, you'll find the evolving trends that are making it more sophisticated to, one, being able to identify in real time, is there an attack to our systems? Two, being able to, how can we mitigate this particular challenge in real time? And also at the same time, how can we be able to recover our systems and ensure that we did not lose our data and we didn't have any other negative implications?
What are the characteristics of an attack? How would you be able to look at it and say, again, I'm going to go back to this house and the perimeter wall. If I see that the gate has been broken or the padlock has been chopped off, or I see that part of the fence has been cut, it'll be evident to me that somebody has tried to get in another way apart from the door where they're allowed, if somebody has let them in. How would we know? What would be the effects of an attack that we can now say, all right, there's something going on here, as opposed to something else?
It's not just a system downtime. It's not just a system
glitch or something. How would you know that it was a cyber attack?
Great. With the developing trends and the new ways that the hackers are evolving, coming up with to be able to access our systems, it's becoming challenging in two ways. One, the organizations that have not put in place robust systems to help them be resilient, so they're not even able to understand, are we even hacked? And there are others who have been able to put in place systems that they can be able to detect that, well, we are aware of our normal operations, but seemingly we sort of have been hacked. But they don't have that visibility to be able to move from there, or the technical muscles to be able to defend themselves or to recover from there. So when we look at how do we get to ourselves to a level we can be able to even tell that our systems have been hacked or we've been hacked? One is you'd find that there's the denial of service, like the case example of what Anonymous Sudan is doing to different countries, including Kenya, like in the last few days. In that, one is whereby your system will be sent multiple requests that will jam the server. So that means that the normal operation of your application will sort of not be able to respond to requests.
Break that down nice, like now practically. What does that mean? What does that denial of service mean, and how is it done? Multiple applications.
Great.
What does that mean?
Thank you. I think I'll use the case example of the eCitizen platform that supports over, I think, 5,000 government services. And the system has been designed in a way that multiple or unlimited number of users can be able within Kenya can be able to access different services at the same time.
At the same time.
Okay. But what happens with a hacker is that there's a particular specific traffic bandwidth that this particular eCitizen platform can be able to support at a certain time.
Okay, so it's not unlimited.
As much as it's unlimited through us, we cannot be able to specifically tell.
So you can use, many people can access.
Yes.
But there's only a certain number.
There's a specific bandwidth of traffic that they can be able to access at a certain time.
Okay.
So what happens is that this particular hacker will be able to send multiples of requests to the file server that supports this application. And all that means is that the application will be rendered ineffective. It will not be able to attend to any services. Maybe if you wanted to access NTSA or KRA or whichever other services, you'll not be able to access the services. Why
can't it? If you're arriving at the door and all of you are coming to the door, the system should be able to tell you, bang any line. I'll serve you one at a time.
Or are you saying
what is this that makes it get overwhelmed?
It's the code or the application program that has been sent by the hackers to disorient or to change the normal operations of the system, such that in a way the system will not be functioning the normal way. Another way is that that's a quick, clear indication that you'll be able to tell, well, this is not how our application hangs or operates day to day, in that you'll not be able to take up any activity or any operations with the application. Another way is where you purely locked out of access of the systems, in that your passwords have been stolen. Let's say maybe if it's through phishing attack, you've been able to share your passwords and you're locked out of your system. That means automatically you come to access your systems or the database normally, and then you realize you don't have access or everything has been changed. So that's also another clear indication that, you know what, there's someone else who has now taken over control of your access.
In the case of this one, the denial of service.
Yes.
Let's say you were working at eCitizen. How would you be able to tell? Now you, as Kennedy, and a data expert, how would you be able to tell we are under attack? What is it that you would know? I mean, sitting in the back end of the system.
As I did mention, there's, let's say in this case, there's a particular threshold of the maximum bandwidth that we've set, the number of users that we can process at any particular time. And what the distributed denial of service attack does is that it affects your whole network operations, in that you will not be able to, from an end user, they'll still have access to the system, but they cannot be able to undertake any operations. But from a developer or from a backend, there's the log of applications or the log that gives you a report of this is how your application is performing, and that's why there's need, as we move along in the systems that we have, to ensure we have these mechanisms that, one, helps to be able, in real time, you're able to monitor and get the logs of this is how your application is performing, and so that in real time you're able to detect and tell.
Would you see something? Let me give you an example. I remember when we were growing up and we had gone to church one Sunday, and then we came back. Thieves had come into our home, and I walked in first, and why we knew there was something wrong is that my dad's briefcase was on the dresser and it shouldn't have been there. So we knew that there was something wrong, and then as we entered into the house, we saw that everything was in disarray. As a developer, as a back-end super spy expert, what would you see that would tell you, okay, guys, this is not just somebody who is playing around the periphery. This is somebody who has entered into the system and has gotten something. What would you see? What kind of abnormal activity would be present for us to know? You know, I'm asking this question and insisting on it is because yesterday there were many people, somebody said, no, it's okay, there's nothing, just
the system
downtime or there's glitch. But others are unequivocally stating that it is an attack. That's what I'm asking. What are the characteristics that you would say for sure? Apart from, anybody can say we've hacked Kenya. Anybody can say that. But why would you be able to enter into the system and say, absolutely, this is what we have?
Great. I'll build up on that from the statement, the reassurance statement from the CS, that besides our systems being accessed, that no data was compromised. One challenge that we have is you can, as a developer or a cybersecurity professional, you can implement the defensive capabilities that in this case will help you in real time to have the system logs whereby you're able to monitor, and quickly you'll be able to tell that, well, our system has changed from the normal functioning. But stopping at that raises a lot of concerns and worries. And that's one of the conversations with people for us across Kenya that, well, maybe it was just a denial of service and nothing much was done to the system. But one challenge that we have is that we can't be able to tell how much was accessed. Did they really tamper with the data? Because if you look at the eCitizen platform, it reroutes to different government websites. And the history that we've had with Kenya, like from 2019, government systems are being spied on and data being stolen, all the way to this year, all the data breaches conversations. Like if you look at the first the first half of 2023, up to last week, but one with KEB's system being hacked, what we can say is that, well, their capability, their strategies that you can put in place from a technical point to even also training bringing in technical capacity and human resources that would help you to move the second layer. Because, currently, what the information that we have, and also from the government, is that our systems are hacked.
Okay.
Our system were accessed to, and we could not access our government services. But beyond that, how safe are we? How sure are we that the data that and all the, let's say, like take the example of the people who were queuing in maybe for visa services and all that, how safe are we that our systems were not tampered with, and more so the data being stolen?
That's the question.
Yes.
Let's answer that question after this break, right? It's 26 minutes to 8. Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting Kennedy Wangari. Kennedy is a data scientist. He's worked in many organizations, currently working at UNEP offices in Nairobi. And we are talking about this cyber attack. What kind of attack is it that Kenya has faced? Who's responsible for it? And how can we avoid such attacks in future? Kenya's biggest conversation, reminding you about Colgate and the need for all of us to work together to spread a smile across the country. So Colgate is working with partners, and they've identified some 30 communities that should immediately benefit from water wells. 150,000 people walk into Naivas, buy Colgate, and that is enough for you to participate in this. If you're thinking, Kennedy, of buying a pre-owned motor vehicle, we have a solution for you.
In Kenya, a lot of people have gone through challenges purchasing a pre-owned vehicle, buying vehicles with engine damage, rogue car dealers or accident vehicles, tampered mileage without their knowledge, all which cause future challenges. Now, Automark is the preferred pre-owned vehicle dealer in the market. All these challenges can be avoided. Why? Because they have vehicle condition disclosure. You know what you're getting into. They'll tell you, look, it's 100,000 kilometers. They'll tell you, yes, it was in an accident. They'll tell you, you can fix this and work with this. Are you ready to go? They will give you value for money. The prices are for each condition of vehicle, and they'll give you reliable and friendly after-sales support, taking care of sales support in their service shop as they go along. Nobody knows pre-owned vehicles like Automark. It's an opportunity for you to switch up with Automark. Drive in, trade in, and switch up today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Damn.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 13, highs of 20 and lows of 12 today. We'll see lows of 13 in a cloudy Nakuru at 15, and it's cloudy at 14 in Nyeri, highs of 19, and 23 will be the high in a partly cloudy Eldoret at 14. It's cloudy at 22 in Mombasa, highs of 28, and Malindi will see highs of 28 as well. Cloudy at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 28, and 27 will be the high in a cloudy Kakamega at 17. Kampala is clear at 18, and Dar es Salaam is partly cloudy at 23. It's 11 degrees in Johannesburg and cloudy, highs of 21 and lows of 9. Mostly cloudy at 26 in Lagos, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 32 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 23.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
All right, getting into it. Traffic hour. Looks like the cold is keeping people home, except on the Thika Superhighway and then coming off of Kiambu Road, because that's busy traffic. Garden City all the way through towards the Pangani Underpass still looks pretty busy. And Jogo Road, which started early, still has some traffic as well. Inbound from Chiromo, there's some traffic going towards the CBD. Looking at outbound on Uhuru Highway as well, traffic continueth. Okay, what's going on where you are? Let us know. Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
From UNEP in Nairobi. He's here today to help us understand what exactly has happened to the country under attack. Kenya fights cyber hackers, critical financial, banking and telecommunication infrastructure hit by hackers, raising fears on the safety of electronic information. Yesterday, the government assured of normalcy, but Kenyans are asking hard questions. We're here to try and get those answers from an expert, and that's why we have Kennedy in the studio. Ndu had asked, so what is it that the guys at eCitizen or the guys at any of these other platforms would have seen to make them aware, to alert them that we are under attack? And then what should they do immediately?
Great. So what happens when I did mention that one of the key strategies is putting together different technologies or different ways that in real time your system will be able to monitor and be able to give you a system log of reports in terms of how your normal functioning of your system based on how you've set the other parameters and performance and such. So what will give you an indication that our system is under a distributed denial of service attack is that from your normal from your reports you'll get a spike of requests. It could be, if you've ever seen like how a bot operates, like in terms of let's say like a Telegram bot, in terms of if you were to build a bot to send let's say maybe 5 million text in a second. So you'll be able to see a spike of reports in your system or in your dashboard or whatever visualization metric that you use to check the performance of your system. So quickly in real time, if you have the defense those systems in place, you'll be able to tell that, well, this is how our system was operating at 1 a.m. and then all of a sudden from 2 a.m. there are a lot of unsuspicious requests or spikes or from a certain area or maybe just any not common or familiar unusual behavior that's that's just a rise in demand of requests, because as we described in layman's term, the distributed denial of service, basically it's jamming your network system with multiple requests than the bandwidth that it's been set can be able to process at a certain time period. So once you have your systems in place and it gives you that indication, it means that one, you've been able to overcome the first hurdle. You remember we talked over the 4 steps of cybersecurity. One, being able to identify a threat. It could be in real time or it could be in batch, in whatever way. But one, you've been able to identify that, there's something unusual that's happening with our systems. So our next would be as the developer or the cybersecurity personnel is to try and move to the next level of understanding where is this particular threat emanating from. What kind of threat, what kind of services are being affected, and how can we be able now to take up mitigation strategies from there, and also and that builds up now the whole conversation also on how can we be able to bring our systems back to normal functioning. And that's the worry that we have with Kenya, because our CS assured us that in a few hours or days, probably by today, we'll have eCitizen platform up and running. But there's the concern, for the last 24 hours I've not been able to access the system.
It's actually 4 days. Since the entire week since Monday, and if people have been having challenges accessing the eCitizen platform. So if the people, the techies who are manning the platform have seen the spike, and like you said, this is a distributed denial of service attack. So they've not taken over the system. They've not taken over your password. They've not denied you access to your own system. If you still have access. If you have capabilities, I think, and it's also something that's in the report that our CS shared, I think later in the evening, was scanty in terms of, besides the awareness that our systems were rendered ineffective, how secure and safe is the data, considering that it routes to almost all the government services. But in such an instance,
and do we have that visibility? And what kind of report do we have from the government?
In such an instance, the managers of the system still able to access the system? Or does a denial of service also lock out the managers of the system from the system?
One, as we did mention, we've been able to overcome the first hurdle. We've identified we are under threat. The second thing is, do we have capabilities? Do we have systems in place? I would assume we do. for government systems, that we have talented cybersecurity professional people and a system in place that will help us now mitigate the second step. That is, we've identified this is the threat, we've identified the levels of intrusion and what has been affected, and how can we be able to block and recover from this. But if you look at what has been shared by our government, we are not aware, did we get, was our data stolen? What are the implications of the people who hacked this system? Because from the reports that we have out there, it's Anonymous Sudan, and they're doing this because they said from their report that any country that attacks Southern Sudan, we attack you back in cybersecurity attacks. And Kenya has been, in the last few days, I think Southern Sudan rejected Sudan rejected Kenya's offer to have our president as the lead negotiator.
Aside in the Sudan conflict.
So we don't really understand, and their report yesterday was that we were doing this for fun. So we don't know the next, if we have capabilities, we can be bold now, probably when the government gives us a report that's quite detailed in terms of, yes, our systems were hacked. It was a distributed denial of service attack. These are the government services that were hacked, rather than just give us a general statement that, you know what, no data was compromised. Because we're not even aware infrastructure-wise, have we invested in a way that we have end-to-end visibility? And also being able to mitigate and take up the lessons from there. So there's a lot that we cannot be able to tell from the government side, and also more so in terms of the security of our systems and even moving forward.
So then, because there is no end-to-end total visibility and comprehension of what happened yesterday, then it's difficult to diagnose what happened, and then to prescribe what should happen. But let's now, because then obviously what we're doing here, what everybody's doing here, is operating on assumption.
Yes.
That, somebody tried to get in the gate, or somebody tried to, cut the fence, and then they got in and they did 1, 2, 3, right? Yes. But even if we are operating on assumption, what would be the likely next action? Because you see people are coming. We also heard that the National Cybersecurity Committee had talked of targeted attacks. So maybe this was, they were seeing this activity, right?
Yes.
The DDoS kind of was already, you could already smell the aroma. Something was happening.
Yeah.
So they were aware, right?
Yes.
What should have happened at that point? You're aware that there's, extra activity.
Yes.
What should have happened to protect the borders, as it were? Yes. And now that you know that they actually did do something, there's a potential that they could do more. What should be done in a normal, ordinary situation in terms of protection?
Great. That's a great question. If you look at our country, we've made great strides towards accelerating digital economy and tapping into ICT. And these were all issues around cybersecurity coming in. From, if we go back from 2019, China coming in to spy on our government, going all the way to multinationals like Safaricom, KRA, to the better part of this year, most of the organizations having their field day with the data being stolen or undergoing cyber attacks. We've had the journey, and I think this builds the conversation on today's in terms of how do we strengthen and build resilience on our cybersecurity systems, more so if it's the public digital infrastructure in the government and also within our organizations. And we can say is that when you look at the legal provisions that are there, we've made great strides. From 2018, we have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act 2018 that formed the blueprint for what we have now, the National Cybersecurity Committee. There are a lot of provisions that we have there that has been able to grow over the years to now 2019, where we have the Office of the Data Protection Commission, all about conversation around how can we be able, from a legal perspective, regulate how we collect data, how we store and process our data. But my key concern has always been the implementation of the legal frameworks that we have. Currently, we even have a very promising second national strategy on cybersecurity agenda that quite outlines the different ways that government parastatals should be able to should be able to focus on 4 areas of the digital master plan. That is on capacity building, investing on our young talent, from research and development. But some of these things are not being implemented. That's why you'd find, like, let's say, the national Cybersecurity Committee will issue its advisories that, you know what, these are the targeted attacks. There's need for government institutions and businesses to implement in place defensive capabilities and ways that they can be able to mitigate. But do they do that? Well, that's left. We can already tell from the results.
What's that committee? And who does it comprise of?
That's the National Cybersecurity Task Force Committee. I'm not aware of the members, but that's the full details. But they've been in operation because that's the team behind last year we implemented the Digital National Master Plan 2022 that formed the basis of the second national strategy on cybersecurity, where the committee draws its roles and functions. But when it comes to the implementation, I think that's a big challenge.
So what's its function? Is it an advisory function or is it an executive function? Like when they notice that there is a likelihood of a threat of cyber attacks, and then they start sending out the warnings to the various agencies, do they have the mandate to actually come in and say, we want to audit your system to see whether your systems are safe? Or is their role only left to that, you guys, please be careful, you could be attacked?
Yeah, it's the committee that's tasked to take care of the 4 pillars of the Digital Master Plan. That's one is on the capacity building. That's if you look at all the government institutions, do we have the cybersecurity people and the IT people trained on aware of the cyber threats, the government employees, how they can be able to operate and do their activities in a more secure and safe way. So that's one of the operations that they do. That's capacity building and training and awareness programs that are being done by the different programs and initiatives. That's one of the main tasks. The second being promotion of research on emerging technologies and cybersecurity, and informing the government and the other parastatals. And they've been doing quite a great job in terms of also coming up with policies. And I think that's where also the CS also did make his statement that the task force will also advise further on the lessons that we've learned and how we can build up from there. And the key concern has also been about bringing in another task has been on talent development. If you look at most of the government ICT offices, you'll note one thing. I've been privileged to interact with some of the talented and quite skilled cybersecurity professionals in Kenya, but they're not given opportunities within the government to come and leverage on their skills and be able to even innovate more better ways to make our digital space more secure. So if you're able to, through this committee, to ensure that we're able to bring these talented people rather than having someone who did a computer packages because he knows so and so and he was brought in to take care of the whole ICT department.
Ako IT.
I would say if you look at the whole outline of the roles of this particular committee, they're well outlined, but on the implementation part, I think we'll continue issuing advisories, we'll continue issuing promises.
Someone who did computer packages.
Surely.
So if you look at coming back into this one, look at what's happened in this past week, all right? Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday into Thursday, everything now appearing to have hit its peak. And then Friday, we don't know what's going to happen today. It's been a kind of a build-up with clear messages that are coming from people who are claiming to be behind it. Of course, they are anonymous. Even if any anonymous person can claim I'm the anonymous person who's behind this thing. Yes. But the fact that there was a warning just before this thing started from this same group, and then you started noticing these activities, the system getting jammed on Monday, you could maybe attribute to these same people who had warned. Okay? Now, look at the response from government. System has been down for all those days.
Yes.
There's what you called the lack of detail.
Yes.
In the statement that's come from the ministry in charge of ICT, just saying there was an attempted attack. It was unsuccessful. They did not. Our data has not been breached. Has not been compromised. But there was an attack. Do you get the confidence that actually we have people who are well aware of how to handle a cyber attack?
Oh, that's a tough question. And I would say out here, we have some of the best skilled and talented professionals. And I think the National Committee or basically the team that has been tasked under the the second cyber security strategy document is not really living up to its mandate on the 4 pillars. That's one in terms of capacity building, because we have some of the best people out here, and even but when it comes to bringing them on board to innovate and build systems that will make us to be more resilient, I think that's quite a challenge, and I think that's why I alluded and used that example, because even other countries have probably also faced similar challenges, because these are global issue, but how they've been able to take up the lessons out of the challenges they've had, and how they've been able to mitigate and put in place mechanisms to handle similar cases in the future seems to be a bit different from what we're doing in the country. And I think that's where the gaps all around, more so even from how the government is handling this matter. I think there's need to ensure that there's more involvement of our people, and I hope this conversation sees that we'll have more cybersecurity people being involved in those proposals, in those discussions. All these conversations will be, because, for many years we've had ICT just being generalized as ICT. But, as we're having conversations around digitalization and everything, cybersecurity remains a key issue to everyone who's dealing with data. And from the government, I think there's more to be done. We have some promising documents that would help us achieve the Vision 2030. But how do we move out of the challenges we've had? We had the 2019 cases. We've had a good share of private institutions having their own share of challenges. We've now had this menace that we're going through. How do we move forward as a country?
In terms of severity, looking at the events of yesterday, if it was on a scale, how severe was the incident of yesterday in language of cyber and data? Are we talking about heart attack, or are we talking about a cut on the finger, essentially?
In my own thoughts and opinions, I think it was a heart attack. As much as we don't have access, so we can be able to share a detailed outline of this is the system that was hacked. This is particular operations that were rendered ineffective, or maybe there were any cases of data breaches, because again, also even from the government, little to no scanty information on the same. But if you look at the weight of even the group behind the attacks, if you look at their previous attacks, if you look at that Sudan group, they've previously attacked US, Sweden, Australia, amongst other countries, more so within. And if you look at the areas they're affecting in all those different countries, it's around education, it's around fintech, and healthcare, and more so government critical services. So we can't really be able to ascertain exactly the
severity
of the impact of whether we lost large volumes of data. Besides now what we can be able to tell that, well, our systems were rendered ineffective for a few hours. There's so much that we need to dig deep and take up lessons and look at how do we build more resilient systems moving forward.
Okay. What would you, I'm sorry, I have to come back to this quickly. What would you have expected now that was done yesterday in terms of first mitigation, frontline mitigation to stop something else? What would you have expected would have been done? The gate is cut. Do we fix the fence? Do we remove it, put another fence? What would have been done yesterday in terms of protection? Or what continues to be done right now?
The immediate response, in my own thoughts, would have been too fast. Bring a close operation, close down on the operations of the system, so that now the technical team, because at the same time people were there were the worries that you can't be able to access eCitizen. Everyone else is also trying to access the same system. The system is also undergoing through the threats, and would have been to want to bring the operations of the system to a close, so that the team is able to conduct a thorough system audit and give a detailed report that, this is the level of attack, and this is the next steps that we're going to take from there. Because as we did mention, the different layers of one, identifying a particular threat, being able to implement various risk mitigation strategies to that particular threat, and also being able to put in place or enforce mechanisms. How do we be able to recover in real time and get our operations up and running?
Okay. Kennedy, we thank you very much for joining us today and for all the insights that you've shared with us. Kennedy Wangari is a data scientist. He currently works at UNEP in Nairobi. We've been talking about this growing threat of cybersecurity, privacy and data protection in the country. As we come to the top of the hour, we want to remind you about bomayangu.go.ke. It's still working. This is the government's affordable housing portal. If you want to participate in any of the affordable housing projects across the country, each of the 290 constituencies is meant to have an affordable housing project where those houses will be constructed, then the houses will be available for the public to purchase. You want to purchase that? The only way you can purchase it is by registering to the Bomayangu platform. That's bomayangu.go.ke, or you can do so using USSD. What is USSD again? What?
Unrestricted.
Standard.
Yeah? It's not unrestricted. It's only like Okoh. It's a useless thing. Unstructured supplementary service data. So USSD code *832#. *832#. That's how you register onto the Bomayangu. Do it today. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto today continues this visit to the Coast region and is expected in Kilifi County, where he will inspect the launch of various development projects. Ruto will lead the handing of ID cards to the Pemba community living in the county. He will also be launching a fish market and the construction of 800 affordable housing units. Ruto, who started his 5-day tour in Lamu and Tana River yesterday, launched several projects including the water irrigation system at Tana Delta Irrigation Project. The head of state, while in the area, called upon political leaders to pursue progressive politics, adding that the police did their work maintaining law and order.
Wale watu wanajaribu kuchochea ati askari wetu ati wamefanya makosa kulinda haki, kutetea haki. Tuko na askari wengi zaidi ya 300. Wengi wako hospitalini, wameumizwa, wamepigwa mawe. Hiyo is not negotiable.
President Ruto is expected to visit Mombasa and Kwale counties. The national government has been asked to expedite DNA testing on the bodies exhumed from Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County to allow families to retrieve the bodies of their loved ones. According to the human rights activist Matthias Shipeta from Haki Africa, the Malindi hospital morgue used to preserve the bodies is full with expectation of more bodies. Shipeta has also emphasized the need for the government to focus on the issue in detail to ensure that there is sufficient storage facilities.
Tunavyoendelea kufukua na kutoa mili katika Shakahola, our concern ni kuwa bado ile mili itakuwa ni mingi na itakuwa hakuna mahali ya kupeleka mili ile, kwa sababu ile storage facility ambayo iko hapo Malindi kutafika mahali itaweza kuwa imejaa, na tunavyozungumza tayari kuna dalili ya kwamba imeanza kujaa. Serikali sasa ifocus na masuala ya DNA matching.
12 bodies underwent autopsy exercise yesterday, with report indicating that most of the bodies were children who had died due to starvation.
We did a total of 12 postmortems. 6 of them were female, while 4 were male. 2, we were unable to ascertain the gender. Children were the majority, which were 7, as adults were 5. This one was a person who had died while in hospital. We were unable to do postmortem on this person during the last time we were here because we were tracing the relatives who we were able to find, and that enabled us to do. Most of them we were unable to determine the cause of death, being that they were decomposed, but 4 of them we were able to determine that they died because of starvation.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has discovered how millions of shillings are being lost in Siaya County paying ghost workers. In the report on the expenditure, EACC discovered that a former county worker has been receiving a monthly salary of up to 4.5 million shillings for 7 years. Now, despite his resignation, the officer is alleged to have resigned and moved to Bungoma County government, but that he has been receiving payments from the Siaya County government since 2012, when he resigned up until October 2019. Meanwhile, another Siaya officer who retired in December 2019 has been receiving a salary of 94,000 shillings every month since January of 2020. In its report, EACC also mentioned that stalled projects are costing Siaya residents millions of shillings despite not being completed. While handing over the report to Governor Orengo, EACC Commissioner John Ogalo has recommended the improvement of the IFMIS system used to pay salaries to county employees and the regular review of projects to eliminate misuse of funds in the future.
Recommendations that came out of the corruption risk assessment are intended really to strengthen those systems, processes and procedures, so that going forward those weaknesses that may have been identified can be sealed to ensure that there is a strong governance structure both at the executive level and also within the county assembly.
NAT Secretary General Colin Soyu has called on the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to heed to President William Ruto's request that will see civil servant salaries increased. Speaking Kakamega, Oyu criticized the commission for shelving the plans despite the president issuing the order publicly.
Ile nyongeza ambayo ilitangazwa waziwazi na Rais Daktari William Samoei Ruto, tunaambiwa kwamba mwisho wa mwezi huu wa Julai, kama ambavyo ilikuwa inatarajiwa, sivyo. Hatuna utulivu, tutazidi kuuliza kwa mapana kwamba alilotangaza rais lazima liwe jinsi ambavyo alitangaza. Mtu asizungumze juu ya SRC kwamba hawajakuwa tayari, kwani hawakujua kwamba mwisho wa mwezi itafika.
His plea comes despite the commission saying that the president's remarks were considered as an opinion like that of any other Kenyan. I'm Dennis Asata. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, it's busy on the Thika Superhighway. Actually, much busier than normal Friday traffic, but okay. Garden City gave a thing this morning and is still giving from what we see. Kiambu Road, that's what it is. It continues with traffic. And then we're going towards the Globe Cinema overpass, underpass, something pass. It's a pass into the city and it's heavy. Waiaki, we're not doing too badly. The traffic that was previously on James Gishore is whittling away. Langata Road, absolute mess this morning, and it's heavy as you get onto Uhuru Highway. So let's keep watching. Some of that is going to go towards Raila Odinga Way, but very, very heavy on Langata Road this morning, and also looking at heavy traffic on Jogo Road. So, okay, busy this morning. Are you stuck somewhere? Let us know. If you find an alternate route, let us know that as well. We want to keep things moving this Friday. Talk to us on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
it's 7
is
minutes
the
after 8.
Situation
Good morning.
Room.
Welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room. Happy Friday if you're just joining us wherever, on Spice FM across the country, on KTN Home across the country, on YouTube across the globe, or Facebook across the globe. Welcome to the Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. CT Muga is not in today. He's a little bit... He's basically just, his batteries need charging. So he's basically said, you know what, guys, why don't I just charge my batteries? Maybe he was doing that thing. He sat up all night watching Showmax.
Faithless.
Yep, this is what happens. He was binge watching Faithless in the middle of the week. Today's Thursday, episode 4 is out. Let me watch 2, 3, 4. Skip intro. He skipped intro. He skipped coming to work. This is what happens if you watch Faithless. No, not really. You'll enjoy watching Faithless so much that you'll actually be able to tell stories like the way CT does. You know, when money comes to you and faith comes to you, and you have this internal conflict on what happens to your faith, your needs, your human nature, what happens? Watch Faithless. Episode 4 is out on Showmax. Comes out an episode every Thursday. And it has how many episodes in total?
It's got 10 episodes, so almost at the halfway mark. Who will find out what happens? I guess you have to wait. It's a week-by-week blow of Kenya's original crime series title. It's on Showmax. And if you've not subscribed, all you have to do is go to www.showmax.com, subscribe, and then you can also experience the Faithless experience.
You'll do like CT. Text your boss in the morning. Boss, I'm not coming. I'm just tired. Okay? All right. We have a guest who's joining us now in the studio. Wairo Kenyori Gugu is our guest. She is the secretary of the Kileleshwa Ward Neighborhood Association. It's called Kiwana. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Happy to be here. Very comfortable. Thank you.
Very good. You'll tell us all about Kiwana and why the Kileleshwa Ward people are coming together. An entire ward neighborhood association. Kileleshwa is big.
Yes.
And when you call it a neighborhood, now you're like, okay, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So Kileleshwa Ward Neighborhood Association, what you're planning to do and why you are coming together. But as you do that, I'm going to give you today's proverb on behalf of CT. CT's proverbs this week are from the country of Lesotho. Today's proverb, cows lick each other because they know each other. Cows lick each other because they know each other. Now, as the secretary of Kiwana, how do you interpret this proverb?
So I think I would say that for you to lick, if you're a cow and you're licking another cow, there needs to be a familiarity. And so the reason you're licking it could be varied. Maybe you're protecting the other person from something. Maybe you're removing the other cow, a tick on the cow, the other cow's, hide. So for you to lick another cow, you need to have familiarity. You need to know each other. You need to know where their pain points are. So I think I'll definitely be using that proverb moving forward. It's a powerful proverb. Yeah.
Talks about just being familiar because you are close to one another, you spend time with one another, so you will be the ones who understand each other and you sort each other out.
Yes. And you're there for each other.
Yes. See, that links very well with today's topic.
For sure. I see what you did there.
Right? Thanks to CT. Let me just tell you about smiling and the importance of smiling. Now that, as a neighborhood, you're coming together. And I imagine as a country coming together to make sure that those that don't have access to safe drinking water can actually get access to safe drinking water. That's what we do with our taxes, okay? So they go to the Ministry of Water, then the Ministry of Water comes up with these general programs, and then the counties make sure that people get water. But those that don't, can we do something? Yes, Colgate is saying, let's do it. As we are waiting for government to do, how about we do it? Walk into Naivas, purchase a tube of Colgate, and from that, you will basically be helping 30 communities get access to water. Wow. They're sinking 30 water wells in identified areas, benefiting at least 150,000 people. And all they're asking you to do is buy toothpaste.
Wow.
Not donate the toothpaste. Buy toothpaste, use it. The money will do the water.
Amazing.
Good thing, isn't it?
Amazing. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So why a Kilimani Ward Neighborhood Association? We know of neighborhood associations in courts, right? Why an entire ward?
So for us, it was important to come together as a ward because we realized that. So first, we wanted to organize according to a village model. And this we were very passionate about because we felt that first, the strength in numbers, and Kileleshwa for a very long time was neglected. If you had come to Kileleshwa like 3-4 years ago, you'd find that we didn't have good roads. We were always talking about the roads in Kileleshwa. In fact, I used to get into cabs, and the Uber drivers would be like, "Ai, nyinyi watu wa Kileleshwa mnasema nyinyi ni masonko, but barabara zenyu ni mbaya kushinda za Umoja." So that was always a narrative. So we decided to come together because there was many issues that were affecting the people of Kileleshwa, and as a ward in its entirety, and we felt that if we came together in a strategic way. With the critical numbers, then we would be able to influence some of the issues that affecting Kileleshwa, some of the service delivery issues affecting Kileleshwa. Roads, a big issue was environmental issues such as the river pollution. So Kirichwa River passes through Kileleshwa, and it's the boundary between Kileleshwa and Kilimani. So it was always interesting because at a certain point, and at a certain period in the year, that river would smell and it would just be awful. And people would never know where that smell is coming from. But we realized that it was coming from up the river, and up the river was our neighbors and really part of the ward in the informal settlements in Kawangware, in Gatina, in Waruko, and it would come down that way because people would open their solid waste and their sewage into the river. So once we realized that some of the issues that are facing Kileleshwa are not beyond Kileleshwa, that within Kileleshwa we have to come together as a community so that we can be able to mobilize around some of those issues. Another big issue was water. Service, like people were not getting enough sufficient water. Security was a big issue, as well as lighting, street lighting, and I think those were some of the big and electricity, lighting of Kileleshwa. So as a ward, I think as a community we decided to come together, and it's interesting because I've talked about the village model. We are organized from the street level. So we decided you can't wait for kuomba serikali. We have to start at the street level. So as Kiwana, we organized. So streets come together, they organize, and then they get representatives. We go to a block level. A block is a couple of streets. Then we go to the sub-village, and then the village, and then now the ward. So how
many streets?
Wow.
Make up a village?
So
how many blocks make up a village?
So about right now we have around 4 blocks in Kileleshwa, and those 4 blocks are so I have to first explain Kileleshwa because most people think Kileleshwa is the area in and around the Kasuku Center and police station.
And the clock.
And the clock. So people think that's Kileleshwa, but Kileleshwa extends down. If you go Prime Bank, so we have Mudhangari village and we have Kileleshwa village within the ward. So if you go down Prime Bank, because that's another big area that people know, you go down to the Wayaki Way. So Wayaki Way ICA on the left side with your back towards town, that's Kileleshwa all the way to Kianda.
All right.
Yeah, so on the left. So I see.
So Riverside Drive,
Raptor,
going all the way
Road.
up to Kianda School.
So you go
beyond ABC Place.
Yes, beyond ABC Place.
All right.
So Mudhangari, that's the Mudhangari area. So Kabaserian. You have Waruko. There's an informal settlement there called Waruko. So Waruko is part of Kileleshwa. And then you come down, and then there's the boundary there's a road called Olengroni. People say it's a roundabout for Lavington.
Yes.
So if you're on the left, on the left, yes, of Olengroni, that's Kileleshwa. But then you go up what is called Mugumo Drive. On the left is Kileleshwa. You go down Mudhangari Road all the way to Getanga, and then you come back to Oloitoktok.
Some constituencies are not this big.
Yeah. They are.
And this is just a ward.
And that's a ward. So people don't imagine how big it is. So we've organized and we've ensured that there's around 5 blocks so that cover the different areas, and it's organized. So for instance, on Oloitoktok, one side of Oloitoktok is a block, and the other side of Oloitoktok is another block. And you go, Waroko is a block, you have your Mudhangari block, your Mzima, your Riverside, your Raptor Sports, Lantana. So that's how we are organized in Kileleshwa. It's been fascinating journey because we started quite let me say randomly, because there was a community meeting which was held, and it was sponsored by a not-for-profit called TISA. And TISA was organizing residents. So they held a meeting in Kileleshwa, and from there, people came. Actually, a lot of people came, and that's why I first went to that meting. And people after the meeting, they started like, no, we need to organize, and we need to form a residents association. Okay. It was 2 years of literally meeting 5-6 people.
Yeah.
And this is 6 years later.
So one of the things you said I thought was interesting is that you said, so there were many things that were broken. You know, there was no water. I remember I used to live there. So you turn on the tap, sometimes there's no water. The sound of water bowsers in Kileleshwa was the regular thing, right? Talk about the smell coming. But then you said, we decided to come together. But then my question is, to do what? To rally the local leadership, to say let's do these things for ourselves when it's actually a right that should be provided, that it should be provided by government. So come together to do what exactly?
So for us, the key actually mandate of Kiwana is to work with government, and I say work with government towards delivering services for its citizens. Okay. And we realize that there's services that the government can provide, but there's also ways in which the government can work with its residents to be able to have those services delivered at the local level. So, for instance, one of the big one was roads. We can't build our own roads. We have to. The government has to build our own roads. And one of the big issues was that because Kileleshwa is largely a middle-class area, there was a narrative that, middle-class apathy. So how do you get people to rally around some of these issues and not be, what are they called, Twitter activists and all that? Yes. So we found that first we need to just mobilize the numbers. And one very active way in which we did that was just start a WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group has now grown. We started like a few, 50 people maybe on the WhatsApp group, and now we are 500. So we came together literally to just advocate for service delivery within our area, and where it's possible to partner with government to be able to deliver some of those services. And it's been a phenomenal journey because now a lot of the roads in Kileleshwa now have been tarmacked. Water is starting to trickle into people's taps. And we're starting to, there's a lot of, there's spaces now where the service provider can interact with the citizen through WhatsApp. And you literally send a WhatsApp message on the Kiwana water group, and Nairobi Water will respond almost immediately.
It's like magic. Do you see this as a direct result of the citizen agitation to get some of these things done that you now see, because people are coming and coalescing and saying this cannot continue like this, that then there's action because of that?
So what I always say is there's 3 steps. So there's knowledge. First you have to know. Then you have to have a platform where you know where are you getting the information from. The second thing after you know is that you have to know first, okay, what is the problem, but then also what is the solution and how do you get towards the solution. And then the third is action. Once you know that, and then you have the agents, you have the action. And I think that was the journey we took, and that's where the coming together was the first thing. The second thing was, okay, how do we engage as a community? Then the third step was, how do we engage with government? And then the final step was, like, okay, now we are actually reaching out to government to actually do the engagement and to push and to advocate. So it's not been like, like a one-off, like you know it and then you do it. And that's some of the challenges we face in active citizenship. Sometimes people don't have the knowledge. Sometimes people just don't have the agency or the know-how of how to get what they need for their area. And I feel that that's what we've been able to achieve.
Do you think those are the most crippling things? And I ask that question because oftentimes you say, well, I'm not strong enough, I don't have a voice, I can't be the one to, and I don't have money. But you're saying actually it's because you don't have the information. You don't have the power that comes with a group of people. Ndu and 10 other people should come together. If Ndu's feeling she cannot do it on her own, you're saying the most crippling thing is the knowledge. And then after that, what do we do? It's not money. It's not...
And also time. Community organizing takes time. Like, you need to just dedicate. I remember initially when we used to do public participation, we would show up at public participation and you'd be 5 people. And then you go to the one at county, you're like just 2 people.
The only one.
Like, you have Madare, like, with like loads of people who've come in. Guys from Kibra have mobilized, they've come in. Kaungware, they're in. You look at Kilimani and Kileleshwa, 2 people. Sometimes none. So with middle class, we also have to just make the time for it. You just have to make the time to take the action. And sometimes that's just the problem also, because people make excuses and they're like, there's no time where I'm busy, I'm working, how do I take leave to do this? But I feel, I'll tell you the story of how I got involved. I got involved because the road in front of my house was just bad.
You did not have a road in front of your house.
I did not have a road in front of my house. You had a cattle truck in front of your house. And it was so irritating for me because I was working in an NGO and we were giving money for public participation. And it's like, you want people to go influence, but you can't even influence the road in front of your house. You can't influence the flat that is rising and blocking the sun from entering your room. So we have to first come together, get the knowledge, but make the time to engage. And that's where the action is. So it's not really about money.
Take us through that journey, actually. You've just started very well. So, you get this frustration. Every time you're going home, when you're directing people to your home, you direct them up to the nearest barabara ya lami, and then you give them a direction, either that Coca-Cola kiosk or the mound of rubbish or the fallen lamppost or that Karaf road. So yours was the Karaf road. Take the turn into the Karaf road, and then, by the way, make sure that you come in a high vehicle, because the low vehicles are low vehicle. So that's how you describe. So how did you convert this frustration into action?
So first, when there was the meeting that was held, I just attended. I was like, okay, first let me just attend. Let me go see what people are saying. Let me hear what people are saying. The second step that I took was that when meetings were called, when the WhatsApp group was formed, and then we're like, okay, let's meet and see what we want to do. Let me tell you, Eric and Undu, you just show up. That's the trick. You just show up.
Number one thing
just show up. You show up. You don't know, you don't understand, you don't know anyone, you show up. When you see that, when people are saying, okay, the people for Kileleshwa, let's come together and let's form something, just go and stand there. Even if you don't have to speak, you just stand there, make sure your name is in there. And it's so funny, we had meetings for like 2 years before we even decided to register the association. And at the time when we decided to register the association, we were still meeting like 10, 15 people. And we would just be like, okay, what are we talking about today? Okay, what do we need to do? We ask for a volunteer on the WhatsApp group. Who's a lawyer who can help us to register? Who's this person? Who's an auditor who can do? So that's how it just started. And it was like, okay, who can draft a constitution? I was like, okay, let me try and draft the constitution. So you draft the constitution and you just kind of progress like that. And what I found is that when you start, there's a snowball effect. People just start joining. People just start telling their friends. People start saying, okay, I'm frustrated with this. Then someone says, no, there's actually an association. Ebu join. And then the other thing is you have to show that you're actually doing something. We were writing letters. When people would complain on the group, would direct them to the right person. We got the OCS in the group. We got all the service providers on the group. We got KPLC to come and help people to understand their meter readings. We got Nairobi Water. So you just kind of bring the information to the people. And then it's a snowball effect.
That takes time.
It does.
And it's like you're basically getting another job on the side.
Yeah.
How much time did you have to dedicate into this?
So it's interesting because there's one amazing man, and he's so passionate about the village model. He's called Samwaura. And Samwaura dedicated his time. Like, you need time. You need someone who's mobilizing for you. And he dedicated time and he mobilized people. And he would come and he would say, are you going to mobilize your street? And I'd say yes. I would go door to door asking guys for numbers. Who's the number? What's the number of your chairman? Okay. Then you start a WhatsApp group. Then you tell your neighbor down the road, you're like, hey, you guys, why don't you start a WhatsApp group for your group? Then we now just kind of started mobilizing door to door. And he and I went door to door. I went in my streets. He went asking people to set up in their streets. And we just that's how we mobilized. And now this is the 6th year. And I can say at least all the streets in Kileleshwa ward are represented in one way or another on our platform.
Is it only residents or is it also homeowners?
So homeowners, residents, landlords, some people who work in Kileleshwa, because now, Kileleshwa is a mixed-use space. So you have buildings like on Raptor Road. So people who work there, people who own businesses there. So that's how we view community. We view community as the businesses, the embassies, the restaurants, the petrol stations, So that's because we can't now ignore the type of community that Kileleshwa is now.
How does it connect now? You've told us about the service providers who are also in this. Now let's look at the government. Ward admin is the lowest level of the county government, and there should be a ward administrator for Kileleshwa ward, right? So are they in the group? Do they engage?
Yes.
The ward rep, that is the MCA for Kileleshwa, and then the other structures of the county government. For example, is the governor aware of this group? Does he regularly engage with the group?
Okay, so the ward admin is in the group. So the ward admin, the chief, the sub-county admin is there. The MCA is there. I can say, if you're organizing in an urban area, the three most important, okay, let me say 4, is chief. Your chief is very, very important.
People always assume the chief.
Oh my goodness, the chief is such an important person, especially in the Kijiji. Like, the chief is a key decision maker. So we can't ignore the chief. So the ward admin is also very important, and they do engage, and they are very close to where we are. And they like, on our street we organized a street cleanup. The ward admin was so instrumental, because if you want to get the garbage taken away, it's the ward admin who'll organize that for you. The sub-county admin is very, very important, because they're the ones who are basically the authority in that particular area. The MCA. And the MCA is so important, they determine the development that happens in your area. So we're very lucky. For a long time, we had quite an inactive MCA, but now we have a very active MCA, and he's always responding. He's always he's always engaging people on the group. He's engaged with the primary school, and because of that, I think we've now seen such a difference in how the confidence the residents have now in engaging in a bigger way, and that's why now we are looking to have the festival. I think it's just also because we have an enabling environment for that to happen, and we have the support of the county. So the governor launched the Kileleshwa Festival on the 6th of July, and he was there, and he understands the issues because he's been a resident of Kileleshwa. So, and he's looking at how residents, especially middle class areas, can then engage more effectively with government to influence the services in their areas.
Let's take a break. We continue this conversation. Wairo Kenyori Gugu is the secretary of the Kileleshwa Ward Neighborhood Association. It's called
Kiwana.
Kiwana is organizing a festival, and she'll tell us also about it, which is and why it's important to bring together these residents of Kileleshwa Ward to bring out their issues, to see how they can get their issues addressed. This is all about civic engagement and people being able to utilize and understanding their power as the people, and saying, so this is what we deserve and this is how we shall get it. We can only get it if we communicate with the people who are supposed to give it to us. And that's why the association is important. Okay, CFAO has a subsidiary of pre-used motor vehicles. Pre-owned motor vehicles. And it's called what? Automark.
Automark. Yes, it is. And so looking for ways in which you can purchase a pre-owned vehicle and stay away from all the drama and challenges that comes along with that process. Automark is the brand for certified and used vehicles. All vehicles go through a rigorous controls process to make sure that, they're brought to them and they make sure that they can actually be used. They ensure quality, they ensure safety and peace of mind in the process. Automark aims to provide customers with high quality vehicles with transparent information, enabling you to make the best choice. And you can talk about mileage and service history, braking systems, exterior and interior appearances, engine compartments, tire conditions, all of this. And they make sure that they take care of all of those details so that all you have to do is drive up, switch up with Automark.
Let's take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulwa, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together,
got the sugar, got the spice. Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
Like hot hamburgers.
Bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on. Yeah.
13 degrees and cloudy in Nairobi, highs of 20 and lows of 12 today. We'll see the lows of 13 in a mostly sunny Nakuru, currently at 17, and it's 13 and sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 19. The sun is up in Eldoret as well. We'll see highs of 23. And at 25, Mombasa is mostly sunny at going to highs of 29. We'll see highs of 28 in Malindi. And it's sunny at 20 in Kisumu, sunny at 21 in Kakamega. Partly sunny conditions out in Kampala, highs of 29. And we'll see highs of 29 as well in Dar es Salaam. 12 degrees and partly sunny in Johannesburg. 25 and partly cloudy in Lagos. It's 22 and cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 32.
Spice up your life.
All right, so we're looking at heavy traffic on Murang'a Road that's coming out into the city, and then also taking a look at Wangari Maathai Way. Folks started to use that option to get into Westlands and then back into the city, so that all is happening at the same time. Some of the traffic on Kiambu Road has, reduced significantly, so that's okay. Whatever is going on Langata Road is still pretty heavy, going out towards Uhuru Highway and some then spilling towards Raila Odinga Way. We'll come out of traffic hour in a short while, but for now, this is what we're dealing with. Not too painful, all can be managed. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there as we keep things moving this Friday.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Unright, 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
This morning, Wairu Kenyori Gugu, she's the secretary of the Kileleshwa Ward Neighborhood Association. We're talking about the ups and downs of urban neighborhoods mobilization. It's very easy to mobilize in a village. People know one another. People have lived there for years. So you know each other. So it's easier to mobilize. You either go to the same church, all of you, it's a nearby church, and then you splinter, that certain group goes into another church which is still in the same neighborhood. You do things together communally. Urban areas is a whole different kettle of fish, and you have issues to deal with. First of all, you don't know each other. You just came in, you moved into this neighborhood, you don't know your neighbor, you don't know who they are, the other guy is left. You just don't know one another. And two, you are all diverse, coming from diverse backgrounds with diverse thoughts, and you've never had a moment to share ideas. And because Kenya is going to be more urban in the next few years, we have to start thinking about how to mobilize and organize ourselves from those urban areas. Whenever politicians think about urban areas in Nairobi, they say, kura ziko kwa watu. They say, kura ziko kwa watu. You go really to the vijiji. You forget about these people. The ones who will come and vote. Yeah. Forget about them. And that's why even when they're focusing on service delivery, they'll engage more on that side. They'll not engage more on this other side. You guys can sort yourselves out. If it's about schools, you didn't even mention among the areas of concern, schools in maybe Kileleshwa, or hospitals and access to hospital and health facilities in Kileleshwa, right? It's expected that you will sort yourselves out. Mukona pesa anyway. Let me think of the others now. The challenge of organizing such a thing, like you've told us, is first of all getting people to commit time. But if you start, then people start committing time. As you grow, then the group dynamics still start coming in. What challenges do you face with now dealing with people, diverse backgrounds, diverse ideas? There are those who have political ideas that are completely contrary to what others have, and they start fighting politics inside the group. How do you manage that? What are the challenges and how do you manage them?
So you've just described it completely, and that's exactly what we've faced, and I think we continue to face, and it won't change, because that's the reality of urban areas. And you'll realize that urban areas are also different. So you'll see your Runda has a different dynamic than if you're in your Langata or your Madaraka, so or your Westlands, for instance. So I'll talk about the dynamic in Kileleshwa, because you have your middle class Kileleshwa. But you also have your informal settlement. And I always say that the informal settlement to Okoh is a bit different from your typical informal settlement, because it has people who are predominantly working. They have a job. It's maybe they're just low income, right? So, and it's been, we've been very deliberate to ensure that we're looking at Kileleshwa ward and not only serving the interests of the middle class, because sometimes they can be more pushy and vocal, but also ensuring that the people in Okoh feel that they are part of Kiwana and that their interests are also served within Kiwana. And so what has happened is, I think most different people have their different interests, but initially in the group, we just said that the group is purely to discuss service delivery. And it was so strict that if you talked about anything else, if you posted about politics, it would be deleted by the admin, or if you continued to do that, you'd be kicked out of the group. And it was really strict, and there's many people who are kicked out, and there's many issues around that. So that was initially, so that you can ensure that the group focuses on service delivery, on issues first. So that and then what we did is, there were splinter groups where if you want to do business, there's a Kileleshwa or a Kiwana business group. If you want to discuss politics, there's a politics group. If you're religious and you want to post religious messages, there's a religious group. So we started doing that so that we can also have people have their outlets.
Right.
But interestingly, recently, there were issues that were coming up that are not purely service delivery, but they have an impact on service delivery. And people felt that, first, one side of it felt that, okay, we need to keep the group service delivery, but one side said is that because there's so many messages coming in, you're unable, or the duty bearer is unable to track those because it's being flooded, or it's being lost in the messaging. So now what happened is, now we created service delivery groups, and now there, if you go to the water group, it's purely discussions on water. Electricity, and Nairobi water is there. Exactly. If you have issues with that concern the chief, there's a group that caters for the chief and all that. Then we have a general group, because there was the feeling that there needs to still be a space where people can speak about issues affecting Kileleshwa, even if they are not service delivery, because now you have service delivery groups. But that has evolved over time, and there needed to be some order first, and people to just kind of be shepherded around service delivery only before then people understand that, and then now people can now widen up to other discussions, and that has been helpful for Kileleshwa. And of course, like for instance, Waruko has a different dynamic. They have their own WhatsApp group that deal with their own issues. But Kiwana as an association services everyone. So if you need support with your area, then Kiwana steps in to support you with the duty bearers, the letters and all that. Yeah.
Okay. You've talked about, obviously there's a group, and these are private individuals, private citizens who've come together to form this group. There's government belonging, there's government intervention. With a lot of these things, maintenance is huge. Does the government step in? Does government step in at whatever level? Ward level with ward representative, county level with the governor, and then even moving higher than that, step in to say, we see that this can actually be done, we can maintain. Do they maintain, or does it remain up to the group to say, well, okay, we've got a pothole here, we've got this here, let's continue to fix? My fear is that then, and I mean, as you answer that question, a fear that I have is that government then will almost automatically relinquish its responsibility of some of these things to organize groups in this manner.
So I don't think that should be a fear, because the way we engage, for instance, in terms of service delivery, is that you have your service providers. I would say like Nairobi Water is a company.
Yes.
So they are service providers, duty bearers, but they're not government per se.
Okay.
KPLC as well.
Okay.
But then you have your government services, right? And what we've done is, and I always say, like, the most important thing is you need to participate in your county integrated development plan. Like, that is where the plan for your area will be set out, and that's what the government will follow. Right, so what you need to be ensuring is that the issues that you find important are in your county.
Get into the plan.
They get into the plan.
Right.
Once they're in the plan, what you need to be doing is need to be participating in your annual development plan, because that's when you prioritize, and that's how you push for money to go into the issues that you want. And I remember when we started with Kiwana, like the roads, we were just consistently attending the ADP and ensuring that there's budgets allocated to that.
So it's not just form the group and then sit back and sip pretty, even when
vent in the group.
Yes, and then vent.
You'll always have those people. By the way, you'll always have the people who vent, right?
Yeah.
But it's important.
How do you now move the vent into
action? How do you transition that into action? And you'll be surprised, there's people who still don't know, middle class, who still don't know what the CIDP is, what the ADP is, when the budget cycle is, where the ward admin sits, who is our, they don't know who the MCA is, and so the thing is,
we do not have civic education in this country, so you can excuse anybody who doesn't know.
But people in the rural areas know. Which person in your, like, if your grandmother or your mother lives in the rural areas, they know their MCA. But in the urban areas, we don't. Why? Because many of us go vote up country anyway, right?
You're supposed to know the MCA and you don't know the name of your neighbor.
People vote in the urban areas, but you're voting for the president because that's who matters to you.
And the governor, of course. Yeah.
Now, this other guy who's just looking at the party.
Yeah.
Or a name that looks familiar.
Or a face that
just looks like, this is appealing. This is appealing and just tick. And that's where the problem is. Yeah. Because like you're saying, the things that affect you in your neighborhood, they are the MCA issues, right? And if you do not think about who your MCA is, and if you do not participate and engage at that level, at ward level, then that road will never be fixed. William Ruto can be president for life unless he moves to Kileleshwa and to your neighborhood, and then he gets the road sorted because he's enjoying it. You will not get sorted. You've got to understand, right? So doing that thing, CIDP, ADP, and then coming together. But over time, people in Kiwana engaging more on this, in these steps and stages of budget?
So I'd say yes and no. So we are still far from where, like, you have critical mass that's engaging. But now, anytime there's public participation, I am sure there's a Kiwana representative there.
Right.
And that's different from how it was before. Before, we would be like two people. And me, I'd take time off to go. Like, take leave to go just because I want to ensure that the road in front of my house is tarmacked, is in there, right? But even as I'm going to mobilize for my road, because I can't mobilize for one small road in Kileleshwa, we would always ask on the group, okay, which roads have issues? And we'd just do like a quick list. And then when you go there and you're making your presentation and you do your memorandum, raka, you put all your roads and then you go present, right? That was how it was. But now, as in there's a structure where, like, you're assured there'll be representation, and then when there'll be a formal call for appeals, and that has happened for even street lighting, you know, and people will share their roads, their lighting, their needs, and then they're put in a structured way, and then they're shared. And then now, because there's now certain critical mass, you'll find that now some of the service providers and some of the government institutions are recognizing us more, and they want us to participate more in certain issues. They're saying, okay, why don't you mobilize your community, because we want to talk to them about something. That happened recently with I think Kenha, with the road agency, and they were coming, you know, it was Kura. Must have been Kura. It was Kura, exactly. So, and they were actually saying that there's a big issue, that it was Kura and also KPLC. They're saying there's an issue with the materials for the electric poles being stolen, and how can the community then come in to support with enforcement, right? So there's a way in which citizen can partner with government, in a way that the government, we hold government to account, but then also the government feel that they can work with us towards ensuring that some of their assets are also secured. Right. So it's a partnership. And there'll never be a time when Kiwana will ever have, let me tell you, people think residents associations are very rich. Residents associations are so poor. People will pay 500 bob and they'll want the road tarmacked. I'm like,
we give these people money every month.
500 shillings a pop. I mean,
what are they doing with our money?
And they want us to open the budgets and
so then I must ask, you know, look, there are folks who are obviously where they are today, and citizen participation. For me, I said, look, this has to be a time where we're looking at citizen governance. There has to be participation in terms of leadership. Citizens have to be at the point whereby, you know, you start to take the mantle. It will do one of two things. It will either make those in positions of leadership sit up and take notice and do their job, or it will get them to feel maybe an element of fear that in as much as you're sitting there, you can be removed, right? But then there are those in communities who are looking back and saying, oh, wow, when will we ever get to the point whereby the people who live in this community are contributing towards making sure that the things that ought to be done are done, and don't know where to start? You talked about just attend the first meeting, start even, or be the one to call the first meeting. Because we often in this room ask the question, okay, so we say there must be active participation. How do you start? Where do you start from? What are you really supposed to do? Walk to the ward rep's office every day and knock on the door and say, excuse me, Sama, this has not... Where do you begin?
So it's so interesting. I'll just give an analogy, and this happened really recently. There's someone on the group who was agitating for a bridge in Waruku to be fixed, and he'd been talking about it in the group, and he was getting very frustrated, and he wrote a letter then to Kura around the issue. I remember, like, I realized his frustration, and I reached out to him and I told him, you know what, this is how you go about it. If you want, and he said, like, I've reached the end, I need Kiwana to support. And I reached out and I told him, this is the steps that you need to take. One of the things is also just like get signatures for businesses around the area, so that Kiwana can support you to write a letter. So the thing is, first, there's the personal agency. I always say you have agency as a person, but then there's agency as a group and as a community, right? And when you have, I always say critical mass, because community can also be 5-10 people, but you need a critical mass where when you write a letter, that when Kenha looks at the letter or Kura or the county government or the Department of Planning looks at that letter, they know that there's X number of people behind that letter, right? And that's really powerful. So and once they recognize that, then they will sit up and listen. And I always reflect on this, and I say, you see, the challenge with sometimes the elected leaders, they forget the power that the citizens actually have. That if you actually do your job and you do it well, why wouldn't you be re-elected? Like, people want good leaders. Like, people genuinely want good leaders. Like, it's in your best interest to just be a good leader and to deliver on services for your citizenry. So I think it's very cyclical and it's quid pro quo. So it works for government and it works for the citizen if there's an active citizenry. So going back to your question, if you want to participate, I say the first thing is, if you're in Kileleshwa, please, anyone know you in Kileleshwa, just show up. Like now we're having a festival on the 19th of August. Just show up. We're going to have a booth for Kiwana. Just show up. You come. Just say, you know what? I'm a resident. I don't know how to engage. I have this issue. How can I get help? Right? We have our telephone numbers. We have our email addresses. You can reach out and you can even ask, how can I get in touch with Kiwana? There's the WhatsApp groups. So we've not been visible externally, but if you're a resident of Kileleshwa, I am sure 2 times removed, you will be able to reach us, right? So, and I think it's important that people know that. And if you ask around, I always say, if you have that pain point and you ask around, after you've asked 2-3 people, you will get to where you need to. You'll be directed. You'll be directed to the right place. Yeah.
You talked about a festival.
Yeah.
What's this festival about?
So the festival is a place for community, and I always say, going back to the issue of urban spaces, you find that most people in the rural areas, they have things that they come around, and they have events that they'll come around. Maybe it's your church event, or maybe it's a fundraiser, or I know I come from a tea growing area, or it's you've been called for a meeting, an AGM by the factory, your tea factory. So there's always something that gathers you around. The problem with urban spaces is those things are not there. So it's like you go for events based on your own personal interests. And as Kileleshwa, we felt that we needed to restore the spirit of community. And it's so funny because if you grew up in the old Nairobi, they used to be there. Like if you grew up in Buru, Langata, like there were always things happening that brought people together. And we want to reignite that spirit.
And Nairobi
of
had social halls for this specific purpose.
Exactly. And I always say, and that's why some of this isolation, where you can be living in an apartment and you don't know your neighbor, right? Because what is there to bring you together? And that's what Kile Fest is for. Kile Fest is literally for people to come together, people of different economic backgrounds, people of different diverse interests, people from all the different parts of Kileleshwa, but we're also open to people who are friends of Kileleshwa, work in Kileleshwa, to just come so that we can have a recreational outlet, let me say. And I say right now it's even more critical because I think people are depressed by the state of the economy.
People need to vent. People need an outlet.
People need an outlet. People need recreational outlets. Exactly. And I think that's really critical. And I always say, even in our African societies, we had that. So we need to reignite those spaces. And that's why I think the governor has been trying to put together Nairobi Festival, and he's encouraging residents associations to also have festivals.
Neighborhood festivals.
Yes, because we need those creative outlets, and we need spaces where communities can come together and have a good time, yes, but get to know each other. The other important point is that because we always mobilize on WhatsApp group, most people when they talk on WhatsApp group, they talk differently than when they talk in person. And that's why people can write all manner of things, right?
Yes.
So you need physical spaces where people can meet face to face and say all those things that they were saying on WhatsApp, if they have the guts to. So, but we want that now, like we move our engagement from, not move, but we also have a physical space, a physical fun light space that people can come to engage first, to get to know how Kileleshwa, their environment, get children to be involved in those spaces around issues of start pushing conversations on conservation, on mental health, and just bring the community together.
Where is it?
It's going to be on the 19th of August at St. Mary's. So St. Mary's is part of Kileleshwa Ward. So St. Mary's School, we're going to be in the field, and we have lots of fun activities. We're having an amazing race type scavenger hunt with an amazing group called the Maze. Sundays, Sakasiri. You can check them out on Instagram. We're going to be having a costume
An amazing
run.
race across the entire of Kileleshwa.
Ward, yes, on streets, and you have to go looking for clues.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, so we are excited about that. We're excited also about the costume run, family costume run. We are working with Team Jasho, so that and for those who are medal hunters, this is an amazing. You're going to get a Kile Fest medal. We have football tournaments. We want to have 7-a-side on the day, and we are excited because we are hoping to have Lewanyika as our headliner, playing for us music and enjoying the day.
You know Lewanyika?
And we have a children's village that we are hoping.
Oh, okay.
They are a vibe. Kabisa.
So all this at people gather at St. Mary's.
At St. Mary's, yes.
And it's only for that day, the 19th
for that
of
day,
August.
and this is the first of many Kile Fests that we're going to have.
Okay,
every
so
year.
There's all the activities. Is there going to be one place where at one time where you address the people?
So
and people can say ile maji yetu, ile barabara yetu, and such kind of things.
So we're hoping to provide a space where we can have our duty bearers to speak, and we're trying to get some of the duty bearers to also have stands in the space. And we are hoping to also share the vision for Kileleshwa that perhaps the MCA has, and we're hoping that he can come and address the people. We are hoping the governor can attend on the day and speak to the people, and we're going to have a Kiwana stand so people can come and just share some of the frustrations and some of the challenges they're facing, and we can dialogue as to how to get the solutions. We're hoping Nairobi Water can come, and if you have any water issues, KPLC can also be there. We're hoping that the police can be there as well, and so we curate spaces where you can be able to get the information that you need and ways to action towards getting solutions to your problems. Yeah.
Beautiful. Final question.
Yes.
How is the road outside your home today?
It was tarmacked. It was tarmacked, and it's been tarmacked, and our road now, because I live in a cul-de-sac, and it's amazing now because we did a cleanup, we cleaned our drain, we had drainages blocked, we had trees falling on electricity lines, and we were able to just do something about it as a street. And so I feel very proud that I can see the fruits of.
So it works.
It works. It works. For sure it works.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Again, Kile Fest taking place on the 19th of August at St. Mary's. Les Wanyika will be there. Sina Makosa. That one you know.
Yeah, that one I know.
You know Sina Makosa. At least you know Sina Makosa. And you know Barua Yako. Barua yako nimekwisha ipata sheri, nia yako tupendane. Twende bana 19th bana. Wairu Kenyori Gugu is the secretary of the Kileleshwa Ward Neighborhood Association. She's been our guest this morning, talking about the ups, the downs, the wins of urban neighborhood association and the mobilization of people in urban areas. It's working. Think about your neighborhood. What can you do? Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we have a Health Friday conversation. It's about speech therapy. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto continues with his visit to the Coast region and is expected in Kilifi County, where he will inspect and launch various development projects. Ruto will lead the handing over of ID cards to the Pemba community living in the county. He will also be launching a fish market and the construction of 800 affordable housing units. Ruto, who started his 5-day tour in Lamu and Tana River counties yesterday, launched several projects including the water irrigation system at Tana Delta Irrigation Project. The head of state, while in the area, called upon political leaders to pursue progressive politics, adding that the police did their work maintaining law and order. The head of state will also visit Mombasa and Kwale counties. The Ministry of Environment and Forestry has been directed to intensify protection and rehabilitation of the country's water towers. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi said serious intermediate remedial action should be directed to protect the increasingly vulnerable government's gazetted forest. He also said that the Kenya Water Towers Policy and Bill are being drafted to protect, among other issues, protect forest. The Court of Appeal will render its decision on whether it will set aside an order suspending the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. Justice Mohamed Warsame, Katurima Minoti and Hello Omondi said the date after Treasury CS Njuguna Ndungu said the suspension of the act is affecting government operations. Ndungu pleaded with the court, saying there will be a budgetary crisis if the order is not lifted. Chief Justice Martha Koome has already appointed a 3-judge bench that will hear and determine the case challenging the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 filed by Busia Senator Okoh Mtata. The 3 judges are Justices David Majanja, Lawrence Mugambi and Christine Meoli. Following up on this developing issue, and we'll be bringing you the very latest in our subsequent news bulletin. And farmers in Nakuru County hope for bountiful returns following initiative by the Swedish government to provide environmentally friendly pesticides and farming technologies that will help promote safe farming practices to promote biodiversity. Swedish Ambassador to Kenya, Caroline Vicini, said the pyrethrum had a great future for the farmers, hence the Swedish government's concern with the need to conserve biodiversity by eliminating the use of harmful chemicals and poisonous products in agriculture. Vicini said ASDSP, that is Agricultural Sector Development Support Program, had capacity built lower-level farmers to adopt profit-making ventures for better returns while enhancing crop resilience, reducing post-harvest losses and introducing climate-resistant plant varieties. The murder case facing former Migori Governor Okoh and 2 others proceeds today. The case has been going on for the last 9 days. Yesterday, parties were in court as late as 7 p.m. with the defense team partially cross-examining the 38 prosecution witness. The witness, a taxi driver, testified how he ferried the late Sharon on the 3rd of September 2018 to a thicket in Homa Bay, where she ultimately met her death. She was in the company of other men. And the suspect allegedly involved in the murder of Kilifi Chief Officer Rahab Karisa will be detained at the Kilifi police station for 14 days to allow further investigations. Police say the housekeeper reportedly stabbed Rahab before fleeing the scene and was arrested while attempting to cross to Busia border into Uganda. The deceased will be laid to rest in Nandi County tomorrow. A Kenya Defence Forces major who murdered his family in Nanyuki will spend more time in prison custody after the Director of Public Prosecutions filed a preliminary objection to his release on bond pending the hearing of his case. Peter Murage will have no choice but to call his heels at Nyeri Kingongo prison until September, when the High Court Judge Martin Muya will rule on whether he has justification to release him on bond. When the case came for bond ruling, State Counsel Pithion Mwangi for Director of the Prosecution told the court that they are raising preliminary objection grounds that the court has addressed the issue of bond before. And a man has been sentenced to 10 years in prison without fine for vandalizing the standard gauge railway line fence post and endangering the lives of passengers. The court heard that Mangale Yawa vandalized a 30,000 shillings SGR line fencing post owned by the Kenya Railways Corporation. And finally, supporters of Okoh in Niger have attacked the headquarters of the ousted president's party, setting it on fire and stoning and burning cars outside. The small group of Assonists had broken away from a larger show of support for the coup leaders outside Parliament, where Russian flags were on show. The army has now given its backing to the troops who took President Mohamed Bazoum captive on Wednesday. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At a few minutes after 9 o'clock, let's look at the last tab of it, almost the last tab, and see what traffic will look like through this morning. Looking a lot better as you're coming in from the Thika Superhighway, but there's a mishmash of activity coming in from Langata Road. Very busy traffic there as you're getting into the CBD. Uhuru Highway is also pretty busy now, and I think dealing with quite some traffic that's coming in just past Survey, heading out towards Muranga Road. That's pretty heavy, and it's going to remain that way for some time from what we can see. Much better on Kiambu Road, though, however. It started early on the Thika Superhighway today, and for some reason, it's still going. Okay, Langata Road also was giving, and that's looking a little bit better now. We'll probably get out of traffic hour in about 20 minutes or so. We'll take a look then. Speak to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Final hour of The Situation Room, and then we are off into the weekend. And this weekend is the good time to binge watch Faithless on Showmax. Why?
Because the fourth episode of Faithless dropped yesterday. And so if you've not been watching those, you can catch up on that. If you haven't even subscribed to Showmax, you can also do that. Showmax.com, and you'll find Faithless, which is the latest original crime series drama of what is going on in this story. So get into the weekend with it, and then expect the fifth episode to drop next week.
Like that.
Just like that.
Okay. Let's have a Health Friday conversation. Today, we want to talk about speech therapy as well. Effective therapy approaches to articulation and phonological disorders. Hey. We have a speech therapist with us in the studio, Wamboi Mbogwa. Good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Welcome back to Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you for having me back.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Yes. Good. It's a good thing. CT is not in today, but he sent me the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from Lesotho, and today's proverb is, cows lick each other because they know each other. Cows lick each other because they know each other. You want me to repeat it a third time? Cows lick each other because they know each other. What's your interpretation of it?
I would look at it from a point of trust, in that because you know a person, you trust them with a responsibility or information. And maybe I will relate that with a Swahili one, which is wanajuana kwa vilemba. Yeah, so because I know you, I know what your perception is on something, so I will trust your judgment in something or your take in something. Yeah.
Waswahili hujuana kwa vilemba. Okay, that's a good one. Wambo, you're one of very few people in this country who are trained on speech therapy.
Yeah.
Just remind us what that means.
So speech therapy ideally is it's a professional area that is in allied health, meaning we work in collaboration with medics, and we look at communication disorders and feeding and swallowing disorders. But in my expertise, as you start as a new speech therapist, the area that we mainly focus on is the communication disorders. In communication disorders, we have the language aspect, we have the voice aspect, we have the hearing aspect. And then now, as someone gets further in the profession, then they have expertise in feeding issues and feeding disorders and swallowing disorders. Yeah.
So today we are dealing with communication disorders.
Yeah, we're in communication disorders. When you see me here, it will be mainly communication disorders.
Okay.
And someone else could handle the feeding area. Okay. Yeah.
The topic is articulation and phonological disorders. What does that mean?
So, it's just a lot of
it's all
huge terminology, but yes, it's under. Now, when we look at the communication disorders, it will fall more on the language aspect of communication disorders, and articulation is it's basically how you make the sound. So, for example, you will say this. It's specific sounds, like how you say ah. You know, the CBC right now is doing much better with the sound systems than the letter systems, because they're doing the b, k, d sound systems. And now there you're able to know when a child has a challenge with a specific sound. All right. Now, when it comes to phonological disorders, the child has no issue saying the sound itself. But when it comes to placement of the sound in a word, that is where they may place it wrongly.
Give us an example.
Okay. So, for example,
the word.
Yeah, the word. So, for someone would say the word go. A child wants to say go, but instead of saying go, they use the sound d in place of go and say do.
I see.
So that is it. So they have. If you ask the child to say the sound in a phonological, you show them the sound d, they will say d very nicely. If you show them the g sound, they will say g very nicely. But now when it is to say the word, you tell them go, they will say do. Back to you. So that's where they have the sounds individually, but when it comes to now placement in a word, they may say it wrongly.
Okay, so that's how you're then able to distinguish between maybe just a pronunciation issue and then now a disorder, because they can see the word, they can read it, and they know the sound by reading, but then to use it in a word, they say the different sound.
Yes.
How is that different from when a child, for example, I've heard a child the other day, her brother's name is Koa, but she says Kola. She's a toddler. Is there a difference between now putting in a letter where it's not supposed to be?
Yeah. So the thing with before we go to the disorders aspect, as children develop in different ages, they have a predictable speech sound development.
Okay.
So at 2, there are sounds we expect you to have. At 3, specific sounds. At 4, specific sounds. So you will notice a child who is 2 might have errors in sounds like g because they've not got into it.
Yes.
So these are developmental issues.
Okay.
As the child grows, those issues tend to fade away. Okay. Now, the problem comes in when the child is, by the age of 4, we expect the child to have 80% of the sound systems developed. Now, if the child has an error maybe in like a sound like or d or t at age 4, 5, then now we start getting worried. But if a child is maybe 4 and still has an issue with the R sound, like saying, like in rat, they have a challenge saying the rat R and put a wat.
Yes.
That is still okay because it's developmentally, they have not yet developed that sound.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as you see that 4 and they're not being able to pronounce the hard consonants, as it were, right? Then at what point do you say, okay, this is now something that needs some kind of intervention on your part? Or how would you know? Would you take how would you know that it was an issue?
So for parents at home, of course, when a child is talking, you will tell, my child is not saying some words clearly. Or if they say cat, if they're saying the word cat, they say at or ka. So they have a specific sound that is either being omitted or being dropped. And this is a child gearing towards the age of 5, 4 and a half. That is a challenge. So that is when you should start seeking intervention, because as early as you notice this problem, like I said last time, early identification leads to early intervention. So we want to catch these problems early enough so we can intervene as early. As a person grows, now remember some articulation issues, somebody will ask me, well, I'm from the Luo community, SH and S. Still a problem. They say fish instead of fish, and this is an adult. Now remember, for articulation, the first language that we have, as Africans, we are multilinguals. So we have our own languages that we speak, first languages, and not English. And most of our African languages lack some sounds. Like in the Luo, they might not have the SH, the sh sound, but they have a lot of s sound. So any child, when a child is born, they are able to acquire any language and any sound. But the first language, the law of use and disuse, the brain realizes, oh, I don't need to develop the ability to work with this sound, so
drop it.
So that's why, as an adult, although we can have interventions, it will take longer and more practice in comparison to a child. So that's why we say you can come in as an adult and tell me, I want to learn how to say the SH sound. We'll have to do more therapy, more intensive therapy in comparison to a child. Yes.
So all this is affected by the first language that you learned.
It has.
And the sounds that are in that first language.
Yes, that is how we learn our sound systems because of our first language. As a Kikuyu,
the R
and L, you know.
Why is there a problem in the Kikuyu language? The R's and is it that there is no L in
We don't
Kikuyu?
have L in Kikuyu language.
There's no L sound.
We don't
Kikuyu.
have the L. We have R, the R sound a lot. We have a lot of that. So when we see liver and river for us, when we say it's the same thing, I want cut the river for me. So in the butcher,
you say it's impossible.
No, that is the river there. See, because
there's no L.
We have the L in the Kikuyu language.
So as the child is developing, so they did not come across this as they were learning. And they were learning by hearing.
Yes. Now that's a good point, Eric. Now remember, if a child has a hearing issue, they will have challenges with some sounds.
Okay.
Because we speak what we hear. We start with receptive language before we get to expressive language. So if a child has maybe, in here, like I said, communication disorders, we have hearing as well. If a child has issues with hearing, there are some sounds they will not pick. So when they don't have that sound, it is not developed well enough for them to use it. And they end up having challenges with either the articulation aspect or the phonological part of language.
Okay. So you say early detection is important so that early interventions can begin.
Yes.
That means that a parent ought to know the various stages of development of a child, so that you know by this point you ought to be here, by this point you ought to be here. Is there something that is like set, like by year 2, these are the sounds you should have developed, by year 4, these are the sounds you should have developed?
Yes. Now remember, this is...
And are they standard?
They are standardized not in the African context. I want to say that because what we use, like I mentioned, was we are still doing research in the African and Kenyan aspect of language development because, again, we are multilinguals. The set standard is over 80% of children in this age have these sounds developed.
Okay.
So at 2, yes, there is that standard between 2 to 7 years old. So we have at 2, there are these sounds that you'll have developed. At 3, this sound, by age 3, you have these sounds developed. By age 4, you have these sounds. So that when we say by 4 years old, you have 80% of the sound system developed, there is that standardized research done, and the standardization has been made for that. Yeah.
Okay. So at what point does a parent come in? The kind of issues that we're talking about now is not the kind that it's going to hit you in the face if there's a problem. I don't know if I'm, At what point would you then say, okay, this is something that we need to go and have checked?
All right. So let me put it this way first. Now, remember, for articulation, there could also be the structural aspect because articulation is the use of the articulators, the lips, the teeth, the jaw, the tongue. Now, if a child has a cleft palate, the opening at the roof of the mouth, they will have issues with articulation.
Okay.
Because they cannot say some sounds. Then they have, if a child has a cleft lip, saying like a sound like b might be a problem because of the opening not allowing the complete seal of the lips. So when that structural aspect has been dealt with, then of course we'll intervene because they have been compensating on some sounds. But once that structural issue has been resolved, then we're good. The same thing with people who have lisps because of maybe a tongue tie. When the tongue release is done, then it's easier for the tongue to function. Now, other issues of articulation, for a parent, they will notice because of the quality of sound, of speech, in articulation especially. So if a child, there's this thing I want to highlight in terms of articulation. If a child is age 4 and still on blended diet, chewing plays a huge role in speech, in articulation. Yes. Articulation, yes, because that is why we have let's also look at it from this perspective. Between speech and feeding, which begins? Feeding begins. Yeah. That is why after the 6 months mark, we start introducing foods.
Yes.
So exclusively 0 to 6 months, breastfeeding.
Define blended diet.
Blended diet is you get your potatoes,
and you mash them up.
No, not mashing. Put it in a blender and it's like a smoothie in food.
Okay. What reason would you have for a 4-year-old to be on a blended diet?
That's the thing. So right now we are encountering children who are still eating at 4. A child is eating food that is completely fine. It can be even mashed completely. So what the child is doing, you put it on the tongue and they just swallow. They just
so they don't chew.
They don't chew it. And the chewing aspect is very important in the quality of speech, in articulation, because in chewing, the range of motion for the tongue is strengthened and developed. The movement of the jaw, because of that opening and closing, allows, like saying "wa," you have to open your mouth. Yeah, to say "v," the teeth have to come and the tongue in between. So how do you know how to move your tongue around? Because chewing helps with that. So if a child does not chew or have that knowledge of chewing, they will have issues with articulation of some sounds because of the motor movements. Yeah. So some problems, I think we are bringing them upon ourselves.
Not knowing what we're doing.
Yeah. And so my child doesn't like chunky foods. Why don't they like that? Because you did not introduce it. So unless there's a condition that is inhibiting a child to have specific types of food or like a chunky diet, then see a specialist for that. But if a child is able to eat everything, and if a child can eat crisps but will not eat a banana, what does that tell you? It's
I don't know, what does that mean?
That's a lot of behavior.
You can chew crisps, but you can't.
But when it comes to
you can't eat a banana,
you're like, I want it completely mashed, so you just swallow it.
Because that's how you're introduced to banana, and that's what you're used to.
That's it, and
bananas are.
It has
liquid
to be
form.
mushy. Yeah, I have to use a straw to eat a banana. Yeah.
So essentially, what we're saying is that there's certain things that you can actually do that would then invite some of these,
disorders.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Does stammering or having a stutter come in here as well?
Not really. No. A stutter is in fluency. So a stutter, stammering, cluttering, that is in fluency of language. You have the sound. There is something leading you not to say the word completely. It could be from a point of a child who has been constantly pushed, especially children with very, very educated parents. It is a good thing, but it also sometimes poses a challenge because you already expect it. There's these huge vocabularies in the child's environment, making it challenging. Like I would say in my house, I would say maybe, that is a hard thing. Then in another household, that's a very difficult thing.
Right.
So being smart sometimes is a problem. Yeah. So you find the child wants to say the word difficult, and the way you say it, the way you articulate it, enunciate it, also causes maybe the child is okay. How do I say this?
Yeah.
Or the speed in which you speak. So some things are brought about by how the environment is
around them.
Yes.
For real?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like it's not physiological that you'd be born with a stutter and a stammer.
There are two types of stammer. Okay, I love this. The stammer comes in as, it can be either neurogenic or psychogenic. So psychology aspect or the neurological aspect.
Okay.
So now when a child has a stammer, we look at it, is it developmental stammering? Because children tend to stammer as they develop. And at some age, you're like, okay, well, this one is not a problem because it's not, they're not having really challenge. It's just that repetitive. So it's not constant. It's when they want to call mom, but they're super excited and want to talk. So there's all these things happening in them. Then they may develop it. But when it goes past the age of what we call developmental stuttering, from 3 onwards, then we need to start intervening early and identifying what is causing this stammer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, looking at this, at the articulation, and then one of the questions that comes in is that dummies are used for a lot of babies, or pacifiers for a lot of children to keep them from crying even though they may not be hungry, soothers. Does this play a role in bringing upon any of these articulation disorders?
Yes, a huge one.
Wow.
And I love that you mentioned that. Why we use pacifiers and bottle feeding, prolonged use of them. When a pacifier is in the mouth, what happens? The way the teeth develop, a child tends to have sort of an overbite, and there's an opening left. Meaning when the child is saying sounds like treasure, you need a certain closure, thumb, those sounds are required. We call them labiodentals, sounds that use the tongue and the teeth. We lack the closure to form that, so the sound is not, the quality of sound is distorted. So pacifiers are good for introducing suckle reflex for children, but after that, stay away
don't
from
use it as a
don't
soother.
Don't use it as a soother, because the dentation, the way the teeth are, they will be inhibited in terms of how they will be formed in the mouth in those early stages. So you sort of create a malformation leading to an issue in speech. Yes.
Wait, so pacifiers are not for soothing?
They are, but prolonged use of them. You find a 2-year-old still with a pacifier in the mouth. Yeah.
How about sucking a thumb?
That is also goes in the same category. Thumb sucking. Yeah.
You know why
you can actually tell.
He's bringing this up because...
Because?
So I sucked for very, very, very long time. I mean... but this is not something that somebody gives to you. It's a soother. It's a natural thing. I mean, I sucked until I was 10 years old. Yeah. Right? But it was a soother. You upset.
It was a pacifier.
It was a pacifier. It was a natural one. And are we saying that affects now then speech later?
It does affect
speech. Okay.
Yeah. It does affect, because now when the thumb, you're thumb sucking, where is the tongue? Placed at the base of the mouth. Yeah. How are the teeth? On top, right? So you're creating the same issue that a pacifier would create.
The gap.
Or the gap, or the bottle feeding.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. So it affects the articulation aspect of speech.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this can be corrected
It
through
can
therapy.
be corrected, of course.
What kind of therapy then?
So now the kind of therapy we do is we have different conditions lead to different types of intervention. But what I would want to look at is from a parent's perspective, what can they do at home? Because you'll come into my therapy session and I'll go all technical and say, I'm going to do the traditional method therapy, I'm going to do minimal pairs, and they're like, what in God's name are minimal pairs? How yeah, exactly.
Can I take them home?
Yeah. Can I just take the minimal pairs home? So from a parent's perspective, and this is, I think, which will be more important for the parent, is the first thing a parent should do is, of course, seek consultation from a speech therapist. Of course, you'll be asked to go to your pediatrician, then you get a referral. But if you know a speech therapist, just go to your speech therapist. Then have a consult them. Let them do an evaluation to identify where is the challenge, what is happening. Then the next thing is how you speak to your child. We have to model speech. If I want to say mama and the child is saying something like they're not saying mama, or how they're saying they're not having the lip closure, I have to model it by looking at them, having them look at me and go mama. So I've slowed myself down and I'm showing them how to do it. The other thing that a parent has to look at from a therapeutic perspective, I'll call it therapy because it is a form of therapy, is being patient and reinforcing. When a child says a word, even if they're not saying it correctly, as you're reinforcing, as you're showing them how to say it correctly, how you say it and how you look tells a lot to the child. The child has said, instead of saying bye, they've said die. And they're there. No, it's not that. It's bye, bye. The child will shut down. And they were like, okay, since I'm saying things wrongly, I just keep quiet.
I'm not sure.
So you now start developing a new problem where there was no problem because of the way you handled it.
Yeah.
Then the other part is we call them speech games. And I keep telling parents, play with your child. But we say, but we do not know how to play with children. We are Africans at the end of the day. We're like, how will you play with your child? If you're cooking and that can be a form of play for you, like letter. How you said letter. See how I prolong the L to shape the L sound. And the ta. It's sort of over enunciating as you speak for a parent, and it's slower than you would talk to somebody else or an adult in the room. So those are the things that I would do. Then continuous practice. So if the S sound is the problem, or the child is not able to say S, you can have games that have S, songs that have S. So the more you practice, you're practicing from a sound level as you move it to word level. So like a snake in the grass went S, in comes a game. Let's go S, like that. Things like that. So it's how you play with child, making it more fun. If a child finds something fun, it no longer is work. They enjoy doing it more and more. Yeah.
Time for that break. Then we'll look at very many questions coming in as well. 9:30, Kenya's biggest conversation this morning, hosting Wamboi Mbogwa. She is a speech therapist. We are talking about effective therapy approaches to articulation and phonological disorders. bomayangu.go.ke. Bomayangu.go.ke is the government's affordable housing platform, and I want you to register onto Bomayangu so that then you can begin your journey of participating in home ownership in any of the many affordable housing projects that are coming up in the country. When you register, they'll ask you, okay, where would you like to own a home from these areas? So you select and say, I'd like to own a home from this project that is in Kajiado in Rongai. They tell you, all right. When the houses are ready, we'll let you know. The houses will be going for 1.2 million shillings. Start saving. When you reach 10%, then they'll be like, okay, the houses are complete. Those who have reached 10%, the algorithm will do its algorithm thing. It will not be with that. So those Sudan guys, it'll just be the algorithm of Bomayangu. Pop, select those that qualify according to the number of houses out there. You begin the journey towards home ownership. Rent to own is one way of owning that house. Bomayangu.go.ke.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Take the money. Who's gonna know? Cain won't rest until he finds you. You could run and go far away. Think about your role in the church. No one will know. It'll be your own secret. I am warning you. 4 church members pray for their crimes when they're drawn into a life of sin and violence in the new Showmax original series, Faithless. Now on Showmax. Sign up to watch at showmax.com.
James, hey, been a minute. What's been going on?
Maze, let me tell you about Maricela.
Okay.
She has wizard me anywhere. She's the best. She's reliable. She takes me to places I've never been, man. Akona quality, yani. She's never let me down, and I'm so glad she's in my life.
Wait, who are you talking about?
I see my car, man. Who did you think I was talking about?
Ebu, tell me more about this Maricela. Where did you meet and how can I get in
Are you tired of searching high and low for a pre-owned car? Introducing Automark by CFAO, your one-stop destination for quality pre-owned vehicles. Visit us today at Bellevue along Popo Road, South Sea, or give us a call on 0711 050 000 to make the first step towards your dream car. Automark by CFAO, driving your dreams forward. Bizarre Bazaar Festival July edition, Saturday 29th and Sunday 30th July, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Largest, most entertaining open-air market, food court, live entertainment, kids activities, fun, family-friendly event at Kenya School of TVET Gigiri. Release the strap. More info at BizBaz Events on socials.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs.
So we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi, not yet letting out highs of 20 and lows of 12. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 13 in Nakuru, highs of 19 and lows of 14 in Nyeri. 23 will be the high and lows of 12 in Eldoret, while in Mombasa, sunny conditions going to highs of 29 and lows of 23. Malindi will almost mirror that with highs of 28 and lows of 24. It's partly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 19, and we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 15 in Kakamega. It's partly sunny in Kampala at 24 and sunny at 26 in Dar es Salaam. Warming up after that bitter winter in Johannesburg at 15 degrees, and it's partly sunny at 25 in Lagos, 22 and sunny in Kinshasa. Friday afternoon at 29 in Beijing, and 18 and cloudy in Paris this morning. London is cloudy at 18, and there's an excessive heat warning in New York still Thursday night. 26 going to highs of 34.
Spice up your life. Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The multi-million shillings Lord Egerton Agro-Industrial Park in Nakuru County is expected to commence operations next month following its completion. The industrial park, which will be launched by President William Ruto, will host a variety of small industries in agro-processors, ICT hubs, energy sector companies, engineering and construction firms and chemical industries. According to Industry Principal Secretary Juma Muhwana, the project is part of the national government plans to construct County Aggregation Industrial Park and Export Processing Zone in each county at a cost of 4.7 billion shillings. The 8th edition of Africa Tech Challenge, sponsored by Avic International, a Chinese firm, was launched in Nairobi amid the quest to enhance the technical and entrepreneurial skills of the continent's youth. More than 70 youth from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire, Zambia and Zimbabwe will participate in the month-long exercise to boost their competence in applying construction-related technologies. The government has committed to addressing labor law gaps to create more jobs for Kenyans. State Department for Industrialization Permanent Secretary Juma Muhwana acknowledges shortcomings in Kenyan labor laws that do not reflect the current digital economy transformation. The global business process outsourcing market is estimated to be valued at more than $262 billion, with African countries continuing to emerge as the next BPO growth frontiers. Samuel Maina Thayer, who is the founder and group CEO of the Nairobi Women's Hospital, has acquired Evercare Health Fund's majority shareholding in the former. The acquisition, which began over 2 months ago, follows regulatory approval by the Competition Authority of Kenya. A full takeover is expected to take place within the third quarter of this year. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right,
mornings
with Bombo Imbogwa, speech therapist. And you had a question you wanted to pose?
Yes, so there's a couple of questions. I'll ask the first one. So my son used a pacifier for 3 years, she says, and now he has just turned 9, and I see that there's a slur or a murmur in his speech. Is there a connection between the two?
I don't want to say there is or there is none. What I would say is, with a full evaluation and an assessment, we are able to tell you what could be causing that. Yeah, not necessarily saying it's specifically the pacifier that caused that. So we need to do a full assessment and see what is the range of motion for the tongue, how are the articulators functioning, and then we're able to advise on a treatment or a therapeutic approach.
Okay, so what would be the advice for her? Bring him in?
Just come in for an assessment, yes.
Have an assessment?
Yes.
Okay. Another one. How do you explain a child who talks at 2 years and can count and recognize letters and with speaking and singing, but as they grow, they lose the ability to speak completely at 4 and 5 years old?
That's interesting.
They lose it as they grow.
Yeah, by the time they're 4 going to 5, they've lost the ability to speak completely.
That one I would generally say, come in for an assessment, we get the case history and understand what happened. Sometimes you find there could be, of course there are assessments that are done, and you could find that there was a point where language either was not reinforced or it became a point of anxiety or issues. And so the child went to, is it, from the question I'm not getting, is it mutism or not non-speaking completely? Because when those parts are left out, we're not able to tell what really happened. So maybe coming in for a consultation would give us a better view on how to intervene in such a condition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the R's and the L's is a thing, and people are actually concerned, how do you, because at a child's level, because we're saying that's when now speech is being developed, is it possible to then have the R and the L issue sorted at that point? And is it actually a disorder? Is it?
The R sound, yes, there's some disorders. There's a disorder called rhotacicism, which is the inability to produce the R sound. So yes, you find a speech therapist who is specialized in the production or training of how to produce the R sound for an adult especially. For a child, of course, we intervene with articulation intervention therapy, and we will look at from the drills, training the child where the sound is, how to place the R. So in articulation, we have what we call placement. For you to produce a specific sound, how you place your tongue, how your articulators look. So there is the manner and placement. So if it is, let's say, the M sound, how are your lips? They are completely sealed. Then you produce the sound. So where is your tongue? Is it near your teeth? Is it at the back? Is it resting? So all those things in articulation, we have to teach all that first, where you place each articulator to produce a specific sound. Yes.
Okay.
Somebody's asking whether you also can do some corrective therapies at an older age.
Yes.
So let's say a child went through this, they did not actually start their therapy early, because you said early detection, early therapy works best. But can you do late therapy?
Yes, we can still intervene. It takes, at an older age, it takes more practice, more intensive therapy, but it still works. So at an older age, even as an individual, both the therapist and the individual with the challenge both have to work really intensively on that. And with that, we start with what is the specific sound you're having an issue with. We first work on it on a sound level. Then when we come to putting it into words, we start with the initial positioning of the sound. For example, you're having an issue with the SH. So we'll first teach sh as a sound. Teach until we have it completely well mastered. Over 90% of the time, you can say the sh sound. Then we move to the initial position, like in shoe, shirt, like that. Then we move to the medial positioning, where the sound is in the middle part of the word. Yeah, like I'm trying to find a sh sound in her. That is, when it will come to my head. Then the next part is the final position, like a word that has sh in the ending.
Fish.
Like fish. Thank you. So that is how we teach it. So it is gradual. We don't start with the words if we've not worked on the sound.
For the sh in the middle, for like fishing.
Fishing, yes, like that. So we have, because you could say, this person could be saying shoe, but when it comes to fishing, then they go fishing.
Okay.
So now again, we teach it at the middle position. Then we again teach it at the end position. So we go gradually until it is over 90% of the time you can say the sound correctly. Then you say that is mastered.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Another one. My 2-year-old chews with her tongue and the upper jaw. Let me read that again. My 2-year-old chews with her tongue and the upper jaw, and for the most part swallows without chewing. Is this something I should come in for?
Yes, please do come in. The child is actually not chewing. What they're doing is sort of mashing the food with the palate and the tongue. So it's like the suckling position. For a child to breastfeed, that is the way the child breastfeeds. So that is still the way it is. For chewing, to stimulate chewing, of course, come in. But one of the strategies we'll show is, you'll notice we'll put food on the molars, not the middle part. So when food is on the molars, the tongue has to either do a tongue sweep to get it and also move it back to this side and just teach chewing. Yes, do come in. And then we will do an assessment and also show you the strategies that you can use at home to continue with this.
That's interesting as you say that, because, you look, okay, if you just look at the progression, a child breastfed, then went to, starting to eat, you never really think that a child must be taught to chew. It just seems like it's one of those natural instincts that will take place, and then they chew and then they move. But then to hear that in some instances you must teach the action, because you're told that, for breastfeeding, for example, a child it's natural. They're born with it.
Exactly.
So you're not born with the ability to the knowledge to chew as a child?
It's how do I put this? It's one of those things that it's there in the brain, but you have to sort of like awaken it. And for some children, when they see you doing the chewing motion, they imitate the same movement. But the other children, they just fed, then you go and eat on the other side. So who is modeling this process? You'll notice in our culture we will sit at a table, the child is fed first, then the rest of the family continues. But in the Western culture, everybody eats at the table together. That's the difference between these two our approaches in sort of parenting in a way. So yes, it is important to start, especially right now with the young families and the different types of schedules. The nanny will give the child what is easy for them to move on to the next thing. So as a parent, it has to be your initiative to introduce those foods that will allow chewing and all that. Yeah.
A strong mother tongue accent, right? And at an adult age, someone is trying to drop it so they can then have a more even accent. Can you sort that out?
I would say from an assessment, we are able to tell if it is possible to sort it. But of course, there's the mother tongue influence heavily because where you grow up matters and what your first language was
and your
matters
primary
a lot.
school teacher.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that teacher matters
primary school teacher.
Elementary
school teacher.
Yes, it does matter because, again, language is shaped and modeled just like any behavior.
Right.
So if your teacher says kitambu shangu,
Krisha,
you will know kitambu shangu. That's how you'll say it. Yeah.
Problems.
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes the articulation.
So there are some that are so strong that you actually can't do much about it.
I will not say it's an impossibility because the beauty about speech therapy is every one of us has a speciality, including to those specific sounds. Like there's someone who decides, I will specifically be an expert in articulation only. And in articulation, what specific sound? R and L are mostly the most problematic.
Yeah.
So the specialists who go, I want to just be in R sounds and L sounds. That is what I'll be training. So there is hope. I won't say there is no hope, but it has to be very intentional for the person, especially for an adult, because you have to listen to me a lot. And with our perspective in, look at you, who are you to tell me what to say? Is that?
How do you know it's
How do you know it is the correct? That is like you're speaking like a British, you're Kenyan, you know, those things. So it has to be very intentional. And also the other thing is it takes time, constant practice, and keep whatever you're told by your therapist, just do it because it's for the benefit of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you do speech therapy, are you only doing it with English reference? Or are you also doing with Swahili reference and such? Because, you're talking about ara, arrows, but then maybe somebody just wants to be better enunciator in Swahili.
So what we do...
The challenge I'm having is like Kiswahili yangu because...
So in speech therapy and in our African perspective, what we do is the first thing one of the things you ask in case history is what is the language in the household. So if you are a Swahili speaking household, it doesn't make any sense for me as a therapist to intervene in English. I have to come to the language that is spoken at home.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so that it matters to know what, of course, we have our mother tongues, but if you tell me you're a Maasai speaking household, then I am not the best therapist for that because I don't speak Maasai. But if you are Swahili speaking, Kikuyu speaking, then I may be able to help you with that in specific sounds. But of course, the standards are from the standardized, we borrow the standardizations and look at it. I cannot do a formal assessment using Swahili, but I can. Right now we are working on standardizing a lot of Swahili therapeutic approaches, but currently what we look at as a standard is how is this sound said, what are the requirements in standardization. But from an informal assessment, I will use whatever language is functional for an individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also on these what are they called?
Phonological
disorders.
Yeah.
What characterizes them?
So in phonological disorders, like I'd mentioned, the child, as a sound itself, they will say it correctly.
Yeah.
But they may have a problem with placing it in a word. For example, they would have issues in what we call fronting. Fronting is when you have a sound that is said at the back of the mouth, you replace it with a sound that is said at the front of the mouth. For example, the sound k. So k is said at the back, like kick, it's at the back. But instead of saying kick, a child says tit. So they front those sounds. So it's pretty much the way the sound is in terms of expressing it, like k and t.
Yeah.
Sort of have it. They are oral sounds. But where you say them, the placement k is back, t is front. So that fronting, that is where the issue could be. But if you tell this child to say k sound on its own, perfectly. T On its own, perfectly. But when it comes to placement in a word, that is where the issue could be. Yes.
Okay. Can language cause speech issues? For example, a child born and raised in Kenya relocates to, let's say, Germany and are forced to learn a new language. Can that cause speech issues?
A speech issue in terms of articulating it, or
I guess across board.
Across the board, it could, because again, the influence of the first language. Because let's say you I'm in a Swahili English-speaking country, and I moved to, let's say, France, where the sounds, the R in French is about C's. It's that. It's sort of retroflexed. We don't have that. I will have a challenge with saying that R sound, because when I was growing up, and the exposure to the sound systems that I had did not have that sound. So I would have an issue with that sound. So yes, it comes back to how are you going to produce that sound? How can you practice it? So it goes back to, again, a lot of practice for the specific sound in that language, and then now getting to the word level and moving back down all the way to sentence level.
When you get into therapy for children, assuming you're saying that by the time a child is 4, if there's certain things that they're not articulating, if there's certain sounds they're not putting in the correct place, that's probably around the time that you would start and say, come in for an assessment, see this child. How long does it take to get this child from the place where they're struggling with this to the point whereby speech now is fluid or articulation is complete? How?
So I would not give it a specific time frame. Why? Because each individual is unique. Each environment is unique. Now, I could be working with 2 children who both have SH challenges, so they both cannot say shh. However, in one household, they speak Tholuo full time. In another household, they speak English most of the time. So the one with an
another
English
household, they speak Nyeri Kikuyu full time.
Proper. So we say teacher instead of teacher. So
Nasiku teacher. Right. Okay.
So it is all those aspects affect how long a speech intervention would take place. Yes. So it's not. I will not say. So in the next 3 months, of course, we do set goals, short-term goals and long-term goals, and say, as a therapist, my target is in the next 3 months, child so-and-so can say SH sound correctly 80% of the time. Those are goals that I will set. And this are to also guide me, are we going forward? Are we moving backwards? How is this working?
Something has just dawned on me. A child who is learning to read and write at the age of 3 is doing this reading and writing with the sound. So your teacher in rote learning is saying SH is sh. K for cat, they say kicking. K for kite. E for egg. A for umbrella. Now, if I'm using a sound, usually I will spell according to the sound. How does this affect reading? If you have an articulation problem, how does it affect then reading, writing, literacy?
Actually, a phonological problem is what affects language, literacy, and reading. Because, like you mentioned very nicely, you should be a therapist at this point. In case this doesn't work out, please come in. So, like you said, in reading, we say what we actually know, or we write what we hear. If you hear cut, what comes to mind? K-a-t. You write it. Now, but if you say cut, and when you say cut, you say tat, you write tat.
Yes, and you'll get the answer wrong.
Exactly. So, issues with phonological disorders, most children with phonological disorders also have an issue with language, with reading and writing. And sometimes it could be misdiagnosed as dyslexia. My child is dyslexic. So that we have to understand a proper intervention. When it is done earlier, we are able to notice these challenges early enough. So they say, my child is a slow learner. Understand why that is happening. If you question, I normally say this, you'd rather seek and not need it than need it and not seek. So come in for the first consultation is everything, because we get all the history we need. Then we are able to now continue. If we do need intensive therapy, we tell you, okay, we do need to have this more. And we'll also be observing the child, seeing how they're interacting with the environment, how they are communicating, how they're talking. So that first, the moment a parent feels like, I think there's an issue, come in for a consultation. Then we're able to tell you, yes, here we have an issue and this is how you can do it. Sometimes we find, okay, just this is what we need to be doing. Keep practicing at home, come in for follow-up assessment, then we can see how the child grows.
Is there online material that can help people?
There is. Unfortunately, I would say this. Let your therapist give you the material because they have it tailored to the specific needs of the child. As a parent or a teacher, you'll go and say, this child is having a problem with t, only t. Not realizing that this child could also be having an issue with the g, with the d, all these other sounds. But because you've been working on t, you've noticed only that. So you go for t, materials only. From a speech therapist perspective, I will assess everything, then give what is by level and age. Because I cannot start working on the ZH sound, which is j sound, like in treasure, if you already have an issue with th. So I start with th, then I go to j sound. So the material is available. However, do it with the direction of your therapist. Yes.
Okay. Would you suggest the withdrawal of again, I think we talked about this last time, whereby when we talked about developmental autism, and you put children in front of a screen because it's great, they can watch and you can do something else. So now imagine a situation where a child is not able to pronounce words properly or articulate properly, and they are watching the whole day, usually in a manner of speaking that one would assume was clear. And folks are thinking that would be a learning aid for this child to be able to pronounce properly. Is that true?
I'm really much against screens for children, especially non-interactive screen session. Because when you're having an interactive screen session, would be like a show that is about it's a singing show. Like I'll take top of my head is We Are Shapes. We are shapes. You can see us everywhere. I can spy with my little eyes a rectangle in the house. Pause that. Look for rectangles in the house. It makes sense. Then when you say it as a parent, the child will say rectangle. You say, yes, it's a rectangle. You will slow it down. The screen doesn't slow it down. It's still in its fast-paced way. But from our end, the child will pick what you're saying much better than when a screen is speaking. The child will pick that accent, like in Peppa Pig. Mommy, where is the cup? You live in this place. A child has never been outside Nairobi County, but they speak like they've been living in the UK. Because of that. And you feel, oh my, so cute. It's cute, I agree, but what other issues is it causing? Because how do we say water and water? So you say water. We have the sound to be very clear for us.
In the word.
Yes. Say it.
A water bottle.
Water bottle. So have those, avoid the screen, teach the child yourself. Be the source of language for the child.
Okay.
These things are important. So you keep saying, come in where?
Yes, I keep saying, as if maybe Spice FM has a speech telling us, So, I'm in AAR Kiambura, that's where I'm based. But I work with a very good admin who ensures that I have my calendar set well. So I think contacting them will be a better option than calling me directly, because that way we are a team of speech therapists that work together. If one boy has a full schedule, it doesn't mean you miss out on therapy. There are other therapists you can work with. And the beauty of I work with an organization called SLT Support, Therapy 360, meaning that we have a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a clinical psychologist. So when you come in one location, you have access to all these people at the same time. You don't have to think of, okay, Monday I have speech, Tuesday I have OT, Wednesday I have psychology. You have all these people in one area, meaning you can say, okay, today is Monday, I'm going to see all my therapists in one location. So that makes it easier for everybody.
Asante sana. Wambo Imbo, speech therapist, has been our guest today, closing off the week for us. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Situation Room today and yesterday and the day before yesterday. So I hear that eCitizen is now back. Please try and see if it will work. Sawa. Yeah. And if the Sudan people have decided it's enough, It's a good thing. Enjoy your weekend, people. Make sure that you take off the weekend to binge watch Faithless on Showmax. It's